as the gunfire continues to go back and forth between whoever is in a home here on the 3700 block and the officers there on the street trying to protect themselves, trying to stay out of the way of the gunfire. And here we see the first of these armored vehicles moving in to assist SWAT as they move closer to this home and try to bring this situation to a peaceful end here. But we already know at least 2 Philadelphia police officers have been shot. A third, we are hearing, has been injured, and they are at Temple being treated right now. Our Action News team crews are on the way there. Multiple teams. We have people going to the hospital, as well as you saw Bob Brooks there on the scene as well. Our assignment desk is working to gather additional information as we watch this all unfold. Gives you truly an idea of the risk these police officers take every day. But this is a particularly volatile situation here in the Tioga Nicetown section this afternoon, as they work to bring whoever is in that home into custody and keep any additional police officers from being harmed in this situation. But again, this unfolding here in the area of 15th and Erie, the 3700 block of North 15th Street. All started at about 4:30, I want to say, this afternoon, where we started to hear these reports of gunfire here in this residential neighborhood, and all these officers responding to the scene. This is the kind of thing that goes out citywide, and all officers respond. At this point, they're trying to bring some back so that they can keep them out of harm's way. Shari and Rick?
All right.
Okay, Sara.
Thank you, Sarah. So we're reporting at least 3 officers injured, but there's reports of a 4th officer who may have been injured as well and is on the way to Temple University Hospital to be treated as well. And we have a live reporter there at the time. Let's go to Action News reporter Gray Hall, who can certainly update us on the situation from Temple Hospital. Gray.
Hey, Rick. Well, as you can imagine, it's a very chaotic scene here at Temple University Hospital. Take a look. We're right here outside of the ER, and I can tell you we just got here not too long ago, and it was swarming with police officers. You can't see much now because when those officers got here, of course, they flooded right into the trauma center here at Temple University. We did see the president of the Fraternal Order of Police arrive not too long ago. We saw what we believe was the commissioner coming in as well not too long ago. But again, when those officers rushed here to the emergency room, they head straight in. Obviously, they're not talking right now as we try to gather more information about exactly what is happening. But as you said, several officers reportedly have been injured in this situation. We'll stay out here and continue to monitor this situation. But again, you don't see a lot of activity here now because when those officers flood here to the hospital, they go right inside. Of course, they want to be by the bedside of those injured officers. We'll continue to stay out here and bring you more information as we get it. But that's the latest from now outside of Temple. Back to you guys.
Okay,
All right.
great. Of
Thank
course,
you,
if any other officers are injured, we know they will be brought there. So we will be checking in with you to see how that scene unfolds there at Temple University Hospital, where we are now being told at least 4 Philadelphia police officers have been injured as they are engaging this active shooter situation in Tioga Nicetown. This is in North Philadelphia on the 3700 block of North 15th Street. So those of you who know this area, you see the images from here. There's a lot of concern not only for these police officers who are still on the scene with their guns drawn, trying to get to the bottom of whoever is behind the crime that is being played out in this neighborhood, but also for the residents who live there. We've seen the bullets flying live on the air here as they engage this person or persons. So this, no doubt, a threatening situation.
That's right. And again, the pictures tell the story as we continue to watch it unfold live from Chopper 6. Just moments ago, we saw a heavily armored vehicle being brought in, officers scattering, running around, guns drawn. We also saw, as Sara mentioned, members of the strike force, an elite team of police officers who deal with a dangerous situation, and certainly an active shooter situation is one of the most dangerous situations that Philadelphia police can encounter. Let's go back to Action News reporter Bob Brooks, who is live near the scene, not here, but a couple of blocks away, with hopefully some new information on what has transpired in this community. Bob.
Hey, Rick. Yeah, I was just speaking with some people down here. They say they heard so much gunfire when this first happened. They were about a block away. They could smell the gunpowder, and then just a wave of police just showed up here to the scene. Again, North 15th and 3700. You can see The scene hasn't changed much since you took me last. Just tons of police, SWAT team members. They got their guns drawn, just keeping a vigilant watch from a distance. And then beyond the first wave of officers, you have up into that vacant lot, it looks like, or some kind of community park. That's where even more officers are right now. You have members of SWAT team, ATF. I've heard them talking on a megaphone to whoever the suspect or suspects might be, trying to coerce them to come out and end this as peaceful as they can from here on out. But we know 4 officers injured at this point, certainly a tragedy. I'm going to walk over here, Ian. I want you to point the camera over this way. This was a woman here that I spoke to just a little while ago. Ma'am, can you just tell me, you were here, you heard the gunfire. Can you tell me what you heard?
I heard so many gunshots that I got scared, and I lifted my window up to see what was going on, and I left out of the house because I was scared.
How many gunshots did you hear?
Over 100.
Over 100 gunshots. Did you see people running?
They were
what
running.
Did you hear?
They were scurrying. They were afraid. Over there where they are, they have them held up, is a play lot where children play. Terrible.
How do you feel about this happening here? 4 officers we know injured. You're scared?
I'm scared.
All right, ma'am, thank you. I'm glad you're okay here. And another look here, guys, at the scene. We're at Chopper 6 shot here. You can see, again, I'm trying to bring this to a conclusion. We're being asked, Rick, to move back right now. We're going to have to move our position. I'll throw it back to you guys in the studio right now, okay?
Okay, and we can echo that, Bob. Our chopper has been told to move back somewhat from this situation as well, as they continue to bring in more heavily armored vehicles, more tactical units. Certainly police are ramping up their defense here and their posturing as we continue to watch the situation unfold from Chopper 6. Again, a very tenuous, a very volatile situation as we continue to determine exactly what happened here and present you the information that we do know. 4 officers injured in this situation, an active shooter situation, and police certainly working in a feverish pitch to try and bring some type of conclusion here and certainly bring 1 or more men into custody.
All right, you're now watching Action News at 5 o'clock. We started this reporting of what's happening and unfolding in North Philadelphia going on now almost 50 minutes ago. So this began during Action News at 4 o'clock. And as we now continue with Chopper 6 live over the scene, Philadelphia police are now preparing to make their next move to smoke these people out that they are dealing with. So Chopper 6 is being asked to clear the area a bit. So as we're live on the air, you may see the images changing, and that is at the request of Philadelphia police. We will, of course, adhere to what they're asking us to do and keep our camera still focused on this area, because now the armored truck that they were waiting for has arrived, and more armored vehicles could be also on the way, but we know for sure one is already on the scene along with members of the ATF, the strike force, the SWAT team. So they are preparing, getting closer to possibly making their next move now that more heavy equipment has arrived on the scene at this active shooter situation.
A very fluid situation, and certainly what we're looking at now, a far cry from some of the dramatic pictures that we will continue to show you throughout the afternoon and the evening of police officers scurrying for cover, guns drawn, rushing injured colleagues into cruisers to the hospital. We're told 3 officers, perhaps 4, have been rushed to Temple University Hospital for treatment. But again, the situation very fluid, but at some point, as they continue to bring in heavily armed vehicles, more members of the strike force, we continue to watch this unfold. Are we going back to Temple University Hospital? Is that okay, yes. We're here live at Temple University Hospital. Action News reporter Gray Hall is on the scene there, and we expect to hear some type of statement any moment now from either from the commissioner or members of the FOP. Gray, are you there? What can you tell us?
Rick, we are still here. You're probably seeing this live image right here from outside of Temple University Hospital. We are waiting on some official to perhaps come over and give us some information. At this point, we have not seen the mayor arrive. When we got here not too long ago, we thought we saw what was the commissioner zooming into the hospital. We didn't get a good look at him. We just saw a vehicle that perhaps was that of the commissioner. But again, dozens of officers have arrived here to Temple University. And as I alluded to earlier, when they get here, their main focus is to get inside that hospital and to check on the injured officers. They want to be by their bedside, of course, and making sure that they're going to be okay. At this point, obviously, we don't know the extent of the injuries of those officers. But again, a lot of police personnel here outside of Temple University, which is customary anytime you have one of these police-involved shootings. Again, we don't know who all is inside at this point, but as is customary with these shootings, usually an official will come out, perhaps the mayor, the commissioner, come out and brief us. That has not happened, but we'll stay here and keep you briefed on what we see here from Temple. Rick and Shari.
Okay, Gray, we're looking at the images from your camera, and that is John McNesby in the black shirt on his cell phone. He is president of the Philadelphia Fraternal Order of Police. He absolutely is there, as there are, we know at this point, 3 confirmed Philadelphia police officers have been shot, and we are getting word of a possible 4th officer, but we will work to confirm that. What we can say, 3 Philadelphia police officers have been shot in this ordeal, which began to unfold in the middle of the 4 o'clock hour. It's now 5:20 as we take the live look from Chopper 6 as where this all started, and that is the 3700 block of North 15th Street in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood of North Philadelphia. Dozens of officers are still on this scene as they continue to have heavy equipment brought in as part of this tactical response to the active shooter that they have been engaging for at least 50 minutes now.
And they continue to engage as we continue to watch from Chopper 6. Again, we are not zooming in on the situation. Chopper 6 has been asked to stay at a safe distance from this situation, certainly not to impose on the dramatic moments and the activity that continues to unfold here, but also to keep everyone safe. We have reporters who are a safe distance away. Neighbors have been told to stay inside and have been pushed back a safe distance away as well, because again, this is a very active situation, an active shooter situation where bullets could fly at any moment now, and that's why police are taking cover, their guns drawn, bringing in the heavy artillery, members of the strike force, the ATF, the SWAT team, all here in this neighborhood. This 3700 block of North 15th Street have converging at this neighborhood, trying to bring safety here. And again, we continue to show you pictures. This is video earlier. The video earlier of bullets flying, officers taking cover, officers hitting the ground. We've seen video of a couple of the officers who were rushed from the scene with injuries. But again, you could just see the bullets flying. And just an example of just how dangerous a job these officers perform every single day, certainly brought to light here with this video. And as it continues to unfold, we continue to watch as they try to bring safety to this situation. We want to show you video again of one of the officers who was injured being rushed to a police cruiser and taken to Temple University Hospital. Again, dramatic moments right here. One of the injured officers rushed to a waiting police car and taken to the hospital right here. Officer suffering some type of injury.
And that was about 50 minutes ago when this video was captured by Chopper 6. We see that officer bleeding from his arms, being rushed into that cruiser and then driven away by his colleague. Of course, we know at this point they are receiving treatment. The 3 officers that we have confirmed that have been injured have been rushed to Temple University Hospital. That is the video that Chopper 6 captured earlier today. We actually saw video of not only that officer being helped into a cruiser, we also saw video of a second officer who was also placed into a cruiser, injured and taken away. So we're hearing from Philadelphia police at this point, 3 of their officers have been shot. We are looking into reports of a 4th officer who also may have been injured in this in the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia. Chopper 6 has been on the scene, capturing all of this as it has been unfolding. It has been a tense afternoon. We can feel that and see that through the screen. You can only then imagine for the men and women in blue who are actively there doing their job and doing it as safely as they can, knowing they are up against someone who is firing at will against them.
And let's go back to Chopper Live right now over the scene. Again, we are maintaining a safe distance from this situation. The 3700 block of North 15th Street, 15th in Erie, the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia. And you can just tell the number of police cruisers, police cars on the scene, an army of officers who've converged here for over an hour now, trying to apprehend someone, trying to determine exactly what transpired here after shots fired. Again, 3 officers we know have been confirmed shot and injured. Reports of a 4th officer also hurt here at the scene. And as we continue to watch, police officers bringing in the heavy artillery, SWAT team members, ATF, the strike force, trying to bring some type of resolution here in this neighborhood as residents are told to either stay inside or brought away to a safe distance. Certainly, many people who live here are wondering exactly what has happened to their community. We've heard it. Bob Brooks interviewed one person talking about hearing the gunshots over and over and over again while they were at home, and certainly feeling very afraid as to exactly what is transpiring here. Do we want to go back to Sara?
We do. Let's check in with Sara Bloomquist, who is also helping us cover this unfolding situation. Sara, what are you learning?
Yeah, again, what you said at the moment, 3 Philadelphia police officers have been shot, a 4th injured. All of them rushed to the hospital. This happened one after the other. You saw that first officer, we believe was shot in the hand or hands, went to the hospital. And then rapidly after that, other officers were shot here on the scene. A very, very tense situation. It's unclear at the moment just how many shooters or if there's one shooter or multiple shooters inside this house. They're trying to figure that out at the moment. But again, this all unfolding here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. We're coming up close to an hour on this now, this extraordinarily tense situation. I can't think of a time this has happened where we've had multiple officers shot like this consecutively here in the Tioga Nicetown section. This is all unfolding. The SWAT team is doing their work. They have brought in that heavily armored vehicle. That's part of the reason why we have been asked to back away as they try to bring this to a peaceful resolution here in the Tioga Nicetown section of the city. There are police officers as far as brought in Erie staging as they work to monitor this situation and try and figure out what's going on here. That's part of the issue. It's just difficult to know. There's been so much gunfire, even back and forth. They don't know how many people they may be dealing with inside of this home here, so it's been a chaotic situation. This is also a residential neighborhood, as you can see, so they need to make sure that all of the residents stay safe and stay back as well. People came toward the scene trying to see what was going on, so they had to move those people back as well. But again, 3 officers shot here in the city of Philadelphia this afternoon. Reports of a 4th officer injured as well. They had multiple uniformed police officers respond to the scene. This is a situation where the call goes out citywide, and so officers from all across the city rush here to the scene. It was far too dangerous to have all those officers converging on this one street out there in the open with these shots being fired directly at them. So they moved back a lot of those uniformed police officers, but we have been able to see some of them taking cover there behind the cars in just extraordinary scenes as we watched live, as we could see bullets ricocheting right across this residential street. Multiple gunshots fired out of this home here on the 3700 block of North 15th Street. Initially, we heard 1 officer hurt, then a 2nd officer hurt. Now we know 3 shots shot. Reports of a fourth officer injured here in the Tioga Nicetown section of the city. Those officers, of course, taken to Temple University Hospital, where some of the top brass will go there as well to check on their condition, but they are staging near this scene as well. This takes a coordinated effort to make sure that everybody stays safe and they figure out how to move in to this scene in a way that brings it to a peaceful resolution and to ensure the safety of these officers here right now in this extraordinarily dangerous situation. Shari and Rick.
All right, Sarah, thank you. And as we mentioned, we do have Action News reporters at the scene, certainly keeping a safe distance away from what is transpiring as we continue to watch live from Chopper 6. Action News reporter Maggie Kent is standing by at 15th and Pacific Streets. Certainly a safe distance away from what is happening. But again, Maggie, the yellow tape behind you certainly indicative of a crime scene that is certainly taking place in that community.
Rick, we're right up to the yellow tape. This is as far as we can get, and of course we do want to maintain a safe distance, as do all of the police officers that you can see right behind me now lining up against this wall to ensure that they are not hit by any gunfire. We're standing on the 3600 block of North 15th Street, so what you're looking at is past Erie. That is where the shooting scene is going on right now, and that's why you see officers lining up against this wall, taking cover just in case. Now, they've asked residents to stay inside their homes. You do not see any residents out and about behind this yellow tape, but you can understand people are peeking out. They're coming out. They want to see what's going on. They hear the helicopters above them, and they're interested to hear what's happening, but they've also been hearing gunshots throughout the entirety of this afternoon since 4 o'clock. Again, just giving you a scene setter here of exactly what we're looking at, and as close as we can get as possible, of course, while maintaining that safe distance. All of the police officers now lining the sides of the streets. Most of them on our side here. Some of them have left the scene already. They did want to clear out because initially it was an all hands on deck. All police officers from all around the city gathering here right now. There are still some officers in the middle of the street, but of course they're a safe distance away, and they're standing behind squad cars. This is exactly what we're looking at here. We just arrived, so I'm looking forward to talking to some of the people who were here earlier and who saw and heard more of what happened, getting their accounts and understanding exactly what's going on. As you can see in the middle of the street right now, there are a lot of officers who are kind of making a move along 15th Street. They feel comfortable that they can cross the street. Not exactly sure what that is indicative of. There may be a large majority of officers here that now have to move on to posts throughout the city. But you can see they're walking towards us right now, all of them wearing their bulletproof vests. We've also seen the strike force here from the police department and police from the Attorney General's office as well. Bike officers, and I mean just a large swarm of officers, and of course the helicopters circling above, but it's also attracting a lot of attention from the neighborhood. They want to know what's going on. People have been asking me as we're running up to the scene, how many officers are injured, what's happening, is everybody okay? And of course we're trying to get that information for them while we remain a safe distance. But you could just hear gunshots right now. You saw all of these officers start ducking and getting towards the wall. Of course, you can hear that there's still gunshots going on now, and it's, let's see, 5:30, at least an hour after the first gunshots, or the first reports of gunshots.
Okay,
Rick,
Maggie,
sorry.
Thanks, Maggie.
For that account where you are on the other side of 15th Street. We also have Action News reporter Bob Brooks on the scene. And Bob, I know you can hear us. Maggie's just saying she heard more gunshots. What's happening from your vantage point?
Yeah, Shari, I'm standing right next to the camera. You can see officers running around on the corner taking cover. You see some up in the lot where they were standing. Look at them. They're taking off right now. We just heard another round of gunfire, about 6 or 7 shots right now. It appears that they're starting to congregate behind that home that has that sign that says Evans right behind it. We see a cluster of officers there. Also, still some officers up in that field. What I can tell you is right before that last round of gunfire, we saw police moving, leaving one area up here right at the intersection. It looked like they were all converging onto another area behind that building that you can see right in front of us. And maybe they were trying to make some kind of move or bring this to an end to some degree. We know there's at least, I'm counting off the top of my head right now, 50, 60 officers out here. A very dangerous situation nonetheless.
Bob, let us just ask you this. Bob,
from where this gunfire is happening.
Bob, do
yes.
you need to move a bit back from where you are? You let us know if you have a moment. And
no.
Okay. We want to make sure that our crews are as safe as possible. Okay.
More gunfire's happening right now. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm not sure if you guys heard that. There was just another round of gunfire. I want to make note, though, we are safe according to where the police have put us. They feel like this is safe enough from where we are right now.
Okay, great. That's what we wanted to know. This situation is changing quickly. We've seen officers moving left to right surrounding this home, so we want to make sure that safety is priority because we see the danger that has unfolded already. 3 police officers confirmed already shot in this incident. A 4th officer we are hearing reportedly also injured. So we know that this situation is incredibly dangerous.
Continuing to unfold, dramatic moments. And again, Bob, we're glad you're in a safe space, but we want to continue to talk to you. You just heard gunshots fired. When you arrived here, what was an hour ago, you heard the same situation, gunshots firing as well. So it has been a fluid situation, but also a dangerous situation, not only from residents, members of the media like yourself, but even police officers here in this community of Tioga Nicetown.
Yes, it has. So when we first got here to the scene about an hour ago, it was just sort of getting underway to a degree that this standoff, what we see right now, was happening. And so we got right up to the intersection of 15th and the 3700 block. And as soon as we were starting to set up to be live down here from the scene, we heard a big round of gunfire. And at that point, the crowd hadn't been moved back, so everybody started pretty much running for their life. Police officers telling us to get back. The crowd, there's dozens and dozens of people behind me right now watching this all unfold. They all took off. We got behind a car. So it's been a very dangerous situation, to say the least. But it looks like some officers are leaving from where they are right now. Not sure what has happened. Again, Shari and Rick, still very fluid down here at the scene.
Bob, we are just getting confirmation that the number now is 4 officers shot, but the wounds are non-life-threatening. The injuries non-life-threatening, but we can now confirm 4 Philadelphia police officers have been injured. Just so you know what's happening here, we still have your camera view and vantage point up. Your microphone is still open with us here, Bob, as we are taking the live look from your camera. But for those of us who may just now be joining us, this all began to unfold just before 4:30 this afternoon. Philadelphia police telling us that they were engaging an active shooter situation in North Philadelphia in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood there. So from that, Chopper 6 was able to capture video of at least 2 of those 4 wounded officers leaving from this scene and being taken to Temple University Hospital. So we know that those 4 officers are being treated at Temple University Hospital, and we want to go live there now, where Action News reporter Gray Hall has been reporting from there. And Gray, you have seen dozens of officers gathering there to check on their fellow brothers.
Indeed, Shari, and what a difficult and dark day for the city of Philadelphia and this police department. We can tell you just moments ago, we saw the Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner coming in right here to the trauma center here at Temple University Hospital. Before that, we saw what appeared to be a family member of one of these injured officers being whisked into the bay here, getting out of the car and rushing into the hospital. But again, throughout the last several hours, this ER has been flooded with activity, flooded with officers. We can also confirm to you that the FOP president, Fraternal Order of Police, he is here. Cannot confirm that we've seen the mayor yet, but earlier today we thought we saw what was the commissioner being whisked here to Temple University to check on these injured officers. We're also told they may be preparing to bring in that fourth injured officer here to Temple University Hospital. But as you can imagine, when these officers get here, they are coming here with a purpose and a mission of checking on their fellow injured officers and hoping for the best for those injured officers. At this point, of course, we don't know the extent of the injuries, but as you take this live look here outside of the ER at Temple University, you can see what is so customary when we have an officer-involved shooting. You see dozens of officers gathered around, chatting, talking, briefing each other, and just, essentially supporting each other. And I can tell you, I'm not sure what our photographer, Rich Lacaver, is on right now, but DA Larry Krasner is there in a black suit, red tie, being briefed on the situation. We're hoping that eventually an official will come here to the cameras and microphones and give us an update. But again, Shari and Rick, this is just a devastating and heart-wrenching day for the city of Philadelphia and this police department. Dozens of officers continue to gather here at Temple University. Again, we did see what we thought was a family member being rushed here, but we'll stay out here on the scene and bring you the very latest. Back to you guys.
All right.
Okay, Gray.
Thank you, Gray. And if there's any good news to come out of this, the 4 officers shot, non-life-threatening injuries. As we continue to go back to the scene live, this is 15th and Pacific, one of our vantage points from our Action News cameras at the scene as we take a look at members of the SWAT team. They have assembled here as well. We've seen, again, a steady presence of Philadelphia police officers, ATF, members of the SWAT team, the strike force, heavy artillery, just an army of police officers here trying to bring safety to this community of Tioga Nicetown. But SWAT team members standing by, again, their mission to certainly try and apprehend a suspect in this active shooter situation and certainly bring safety to this community. But again, dramatic pictures continuing to unfold as we watch live here from Tioga Nicetown.
All right, in regards to the 4 officers who have been confirmed shot in all of this, we're told that 3 of them are being treated at Temple, a 4th officer being treated at Einstein Hospital. Chopper 6 HD giving us this live view now of the neighborhood that has been on complete lockdown, going on now over an hour. Dozens of Philadelphia police officers are on this scene as they have been engaging an active shooter situation. And in that, 4 officers have been wounded in this. Again, though, their injuries said to be non-life-threatening. We are getting word of that. So with this situation at this point is still tense. It is not over. The heavy armored vehicle is on the scene, along with, of course, those tactical members right here in North Philadelphia.
Again, Chopper 6 over the scene, but again, a safe distance away from this very volatile situation. We will not zoom in. Okay. Now we're hearing that a 5th officer suffered a graze wound in this very volatile situation here in Tioga Nicetown. So 5 officers injured in this active shooter situation. And again, as I tried to jog my memory, the last time multiple officers have been injured in one situation here, it has been a long time, so it's certainly a very dangerous day here in Philadelphia. But Philadelphia police certainly here in full force, trying to again bring some type of safety to this community of Tioga Nicetown. Again, we have been following this for over an hour now. If you're just joining us, 5 officers injured in what has, again, turned out to be an active shooter situation. Sometime after 4:30 this morning, we were told shots fired. 1 officer was injured. Then a 2nd officer. We've seen video that we will continue to show for you throughout the evening of officers who were rushed from the scene to the hospital. 3 officers being treated at Temple University Hospital. 1 officer at Einstein Hospital, and now a 5th, we're told. Again, we're continuing to look live from the scene here in Tioga Nicetown as police and officers, their colleagues, trying to bring some type of safety to this community as neighbors stand by and try to determine exactly what has happened to their neighborhood over the last several moments.
We see these officers wrapping their arms around each other. This is the camera of Action News reporter Maggie Kent, who's at 15th and Pacific, as we watched that group of officers that just left from the center of the scene. And one of the observations we can make, those officers who were probably among the first responders were probably those who weren't really in heavy enough equipment to remain on the scene to face a situation that's unfolding this intense and this dangerous. So we've seen them slowly bring out those officers who are not really dressed in the right material to really take on an active shooter, because we've seen the bullets striking buildings, ricocheting off the area as officers were being fired upon. So we've watched them very strategically move those tactical officers to the front lines, those who have the shields, those who have the long rifles, those who have the heavy body armor.
Certainly. And
now, of course, this live view from Chopper 6, the actual armored vehicle here on the street where they are still taking position. So that's what we see when you see some of those officers who are leaving in their shirts and their shorts. They just simply need to be switched out with those who can really respond to a situation of this magnitude. Let's go to Action News reporter Maggie Kent, who's at 15th and Pacific, right there, as close as can be to the scene. Maggie.
Shari, what you were just seeing, the officer that you described in the t-shirt and the shorts, I believe that was the officer that was grazed, with his two fellow officers holding their arms around him. I can tell you this because his shirt was torn open, his shorts were torn open, and it also looked like he was holding his hand out. I can't say for sure because I haven't got it confirmed, but that live picture that you just saw, I believe, was one of the officers that was hit with a graze wound that we had just reported, because he was walking off the scene, and it did seem as though he was injured. Again, those two officers putting their arms around him. His t-shirt was ripped, his pants were ripped, and he was holding one of his hands out. He did look distressed, but he did look okay. He was walking perfectly normal. They headed into a squad car and out of this situation. Now, I have to remind you, this is still a very active situation. We got here probably about a half an hour now, but we're still hearing shots, and that's why we remained on the sidewalk over here. We're on the 3600 block of North 15th Street, excuse me. On the other side of Erie is where all of this is happening, and as you can see, those officers are now lined up on the side of the wall right there. We're taking a live look at Chopper 6 over the SWAT team now, which is in the center of that 3700 block of North 15th Street. And they have a position right now where at least one of the SWAT officers is on top of the SWAT truck, getting a better view at the buildings. And it looks like they're looking at the buildings on what would be my left side of the street. Again, we keep hearing shots. We did hear that another officer was grazed most recently. That would make it the 5th officer that was injured in this shootout with police. It's definitely clear and evident that this is not over, and it has not ended. It may not end anytime soon. Obviously, we can't say for sure, but it is still a very active situation. You see the SWAT team now with people who have more of that armor, as you mentioned. They have helmets, they have long guns, and they're getting after exactly what's going on here. They're the closest people to this investigation, but from my vantage point, there's a lot of neighbors now standing behind this yellow tape along with us, and they want some answers. But we've been told by police officers when we hear those shots going off to duck, to get down towards street level. I can tell you there are numerous squad cars and also parked cars that are between us and the shooting scene, so we are in a safe location. But of course, just want to remind everyone here that this is still very active, and we just saw what we believe to be one of the officers who may have been grazed in this situation, just based on what we see.
Yeah,
His
and we're
torn
getting
shirt,
an update,
his torn
Maggie. We are getting an update in regards to those injured. We are still using your camera. Your microphone is still open. We are hearing from John McNesby, who is the president of the FOP, that where his account stands at this point, that 6 officers have been wounded. So let's go over what we are hearing in regards to that. We are hearing that 5 of them have been shot and the 6th officer injured in some type of capacity.
Actually, I think the 5th officer suffered a graze wound to the head.
Yes, but that's a shot. So 5 shot. Of those 5, 1 grazed by a bullet, and then the 6th officer injured in some capacity. Again, that number just came into us, and so this again, a live breaking situation that we are, as Action News team members, we are at every possible location. We are on the phone with as many people as possible at hospitals and in the police department to get as much accurate, timely information as we can on this, because quite frankly, this is making national headlines right now. We're getting messages from people asking, what's happening? Are you okay? What can you tell us? So right now, Philadelphia on the mind of people across the country, as once again, people are being wounded at the hands of guns.
Certainly, you think about what has transpired this afternoon. Multiple officers injured in an active shooter situation here in the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia. Certainly the common serenity of this neighborhood shattered by gun violence and gunshots, and then an army of police officers converging here throughout the afternoon just about an hour ago. Again, we've seen tactical units move in, SWAT team members, heavy artillery, police officers rushing to and from the scene with their guns drawn, ducking behind their cruisers. A couple of officers rushed from the scene injured and taken to the hospital. So it has been dramatic moments, so more than an hour of dramatic pictures that we continue to bring live here from Chopper 6, and certainly the video, and certainly our reporters who are fortunately at a safe distance from this scene. But again, just the gravity of the situation. 6 officers injured in this one active shooter situation. And again, so many questions remain unanswered as to exactly what happened here, what transpired, what was the initial situation that forced officials and officers to converge here, and the situation as to who they're trying to apprehend, how many people have been apprehended so far, and whether or not someone is actually perhaps holed up in this situation. Let's go back to Bob Brooks, who is again a few blocks from this scene. He's been continuing to hear gunshots explode here in this community. Bob, what do you have?
They're happening right now, Rick. We just had another round of gunfire. I'll step out of the way here and give you a look at where police are all standing just about 40 feet from where we are, right at the intersection of 15th and 3700 block. Some of the people that I'm standing around just took off running. They started to scatter. We arrived here to the scene a little over an hour ago, and it has, every couple minutes that have gone by, we've had a little bit of a break, maybe about 10, 15 minutes, and then we have heard another round of gunfire happen. So clearly this is not over by any means. And as you can imagine, neighbors up here, they're scared, number one. Number two, their thoughts and prayers are with there's so many police officers at this point that have been wounding, an absolute tragedy up here. So when we first got here to the scene, Rick, that was again about a little over an hour ago. We were right up at the intersection, and as soon as we started to begin setting up to be live from this from the scene here, we heard gunfire. We had to duck behind some of the cars here. Then police told us to get back, and every couple minutes they've been making us get back further and further and further. And just when we're hopeful that this might come to an end, might come to a resolve, we just hear what we heard 2 seconds ago, and that was more gunfire. Rifles is what it sounded like going off from where we are right now. I can tell you that police have now taken a further stance than what they were about 45 minutes ago to a half hour ago. They were really far up close to the homes. There's a vacant lot, it looks like maybe a community park, where they were all positioned and standing. Since then, they have moved back from there, maybe because this is not close to an end and things are getting even more tense than they expected. So still a lot of danger here. Certainly not a situation that is good by any means, but I can let all the viewers know at home that we are very close to the gunfire. Police believe we are far enough away to to where they believe we are safe, that we are not in harm's way. So that is the latest right now, Rick. Obviously, we'll be coming back down here to the scene throughout this broadcast, but I would count at least 5 different incidents of gunfire happening here at the scene, about 5 or 6 shots each time. Rick.
All right, Bob, thank you. And again, continue to remain at that safe distance from the situation, but continue to relay what you hear and what you see from that situation here in Tioga, Nicetown. Action News reporter Maggie Kent, also a safe distance from the area as well, but also being able to talk to residents and being able to provide a bird's eye view of exactly what is happening from her vantage point. Maggie, are you there?
I'm here, Rick. So we just heard a couple more muffled gunshots. It seems as though the SWAT team has moved into this house, breaking out windows and heading inside. Multiple heavily armed and heavily protected SWAT team members now heading inside of the house. And that was the latest round of very loud gunshots that we've heard. Since entering the house, I've heard at least one additional more muffled gunshots. You can see a SWAT team member now running back out towards the street, the second running back out towards the street as we speak, and just giving you a live play-by-play as we stand as far back as possible. Of course, all of the gunshots sends everybody crouching to the ground, and all of the officers that are here looking on sends them running towards the wall to take cover as best they can. But again, the SWAT team has just moved in to this property, which they had been keeping an eye on for quite a while, and with that heavily armed SWAT truck in the middle of the street. But again, there's a large crowd gathered over here also looking to see what's going on. If you take a look down the street, we're on the 3600 block of North 15th Street. This is happening on the 3700 block. So you can see right past Erie Avenue is where that SWAT team has gathered, and that's where we're really taking a look right now, because most of the action seems to be happening inside the home. And you can see the counterterrorism officers there. There's also officers on the phone right now, or on the radio. It's not clear if they're radioing to other officers or who they're speaking to at the moment. But again, large amount of SWAT teams standing by, kind of standing near the wall there in case there are more shots. Now, what's not clear, Rick and Shari, is that when we hear these shots, we're not sure where they're coming from. We're not sure if the police are firing these shots, or the suspect or suspects in this case are firing these shots towards police. We know at least a few of the shots that we've heard were the suspect shots, because we now know that at least 5 police officers are injured. But again, just taking a live look outside, the shots are still happening, and the crowd is continuing to gather as we just look on and wait for more information.
Okay, thank you, Maggie. And again, just for an update, according to the FOP, 6 officers injured in this active shooter situation in Tioga, Nicetown. And certainly we're trying to get an update on the conditions of those officers. We're told
The good
hopefully
news,
all of them, none of them life-threatening, but six officers have been injured in this this melee, this volatile situation here in this community of Philadelphia. And most of them have been taken to the Temple University Hospital. We want to go back live there, where Action News reporter Gray Hall is standing by with the very latest from there. Gray.
Hey, Rick and Shari, I can tell you I'm hearing the reports from Maggie and Bob Brooks and just the devastation happening in the city right now. Don't be fooled by the quiet scene here, because officers have been rushing here to the scene. Also, what we believe to be family members, sometimes young kids walking into this hospital, presumably going to see their injured loved one. We can tell you, you've been talking about that number 6. FOP President John McNesby coming out not too long ago telling us that 6 officers were shot. That is the number coming from him. But let's get you to the scene right now. We can tell you that District Attorney Larry Krasner was here not too long ago. He recently left. We tried to get him to stop and talk to the cameras. That did not happen. But again, we know the FOP president is here. Dozens of other officers also here at this hospital. We've seen the looks of dismay and sadness on these officers' faces. And again, what we believe to be several family members being rushed here into the trauma center. We saw some young kids, probably 7 or 8 years old. So a heartbreaking day for for these officers and their fellow co-workers. But again, we'll continue to stay out here on the scene. We are waiting for an update from officials here. That has not happened. We're waiting, hopefully, to see the commissioner arrive to the scene. He may be inside. We have not seen him. Also, we've not seen the mayor, who may be inside. But again, Rick Shari, just a heartbreaking and devastating scene. And to see the looks on these officers' faces when they rushed into this hospital, again, looks of distress, distraught, and also some sadness going on. But again, the good news, I guess, out of all of this, we heard you report that none of these injuries are life-threatening. When we get an update from officials here, of course, we'll bring that to you live. Back to you guys.
Hang with us here, Gray, for a bit here. Just want to go over a couple of things. Commissioner Richard Ross is live at the actual shooting scene. He's there. In regards to those injured, you just said McNesby said the number is 6. We do have that. Did he confirm all 6 shot? What we had earlier was 5 shot, which included 1 grazed, and then a 6th wounded. Did he say all 6 shot?
That is a great question, Shari. When he came over, he said 6 shot is what he said. Whether that was that he misspoke or not, we don't know. But when he came over, he definitely said 6 were shot. So if he comes back over, we'll try to confirm that number and get you any new information that we can.
Okay, yeah, we want to, of course, get it as accurate as we can, because what we do know, of course, 6 people have been injured in all of this from the Philadelphia Police Department. That we know for sure. Okay.
Yes, and again, as we continue to monitor the situation live, we want to go back to Sara, who is in our newsroom, who's gathering information from her vantage point, again in our newsroom as well, as we continue to watch live this dramatic situation unfold here in Tioga Nicetown. Sarah, what do you have?
Yeah, Rick and Shari, again, 6 wounded here at this situation. This all began to unfold at around 4:30 this afternoon. The first reports of shots fired here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. Working to clarify the extent of all these injuries to 6 Philadelphia police officers in just about an hour and a half now here as this very tense situation has unfolded. This is video from a little bit earlier. As you can see, their fellow police officers scooped up their own officers and put them in patrol cars and drove them themselves right to Temple Hospital, where you saw that gathering there as other officers go to check to make sure that they are okay. These officers from across the city converged on this scene. The call went out all across the city, and uniformed officers, the SWAT team, the strike force, this elite team of officers, they all responded here to the scene. It was such a tense situation that they had to move some of them back there from the scene so that the SWAT team could do what they need to do. And they have also asked that our helicopters and some of our crews have moved back as well, because the gunfire has not stopped over the course of this last hour and a half. We had dramatic live images of police officers diving for cover as bullets were ricocheting off the pavement. And one after another, the reports came in of Philadelphia police officers who had been shot. We understand at least one of those is a graze wound. Another officer, we believe, suffered a gunshot wound to the hand. They are believed to be stable at this time. That does not necessarily mean they're completely out of harm's way, but they have been stabilized, we believe, at this time. The SWAT team had called for reinforcements. This was not something they could just handle on their own out in the open. They have called for armored cars to come in to assist them, to help them take cover here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street in North Philadelphia. As you know, in Tioga Nicetown, I should say, this has been an extraordinarily violent year here in the city of Philadelphia. Night after night, we report multiple shootings that have happened. We're at 203 murders right now, 178 of those by gunfire. This is an extraordinary situation, an extraordinarily violent situation unfolding here in Tioga Nicetown this evening. 6 Philadelphia police officers have been shot or wounded in this ongoing situation. Part of the issue here are all the unknowns. They don't know at the time how many shooters they may be dealing with inside this home here in the Tioga Nicetown section. We'll continue to monitor it here in the newsroom. Rick and Shari.
Sorry.
All right, Sarah, thank you. And as we reach 6:02, we just want to remind our viewers this is Action News at 6. Rick Williams and Shari Williams in for Jim Gardner, who is off tonight. In case you're just joining us, we've been following an active shooter situation in Tioga Nicetown that has left at least 6 police officers injured.
This is all playing out in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood along the 3700 block of North 15th Street. This all started around 4:30 this afternoon. Dozens of police officers swarmed a house there as they try to bring this situation to what they would like to call a peaceful end, but so far there has already been violence, of course, in the situation.
Certainly a community on lockdown, police officers trying to bring safety to this area as neighbors wondering exactly what's going on. We have an Action News reporters at the scene, a safe distance from the from ground zero, if you will. Action News reporter Maggie Kent standing by live a few blocks away. But again, Maggie, that yellow tape behind you indicative of the crime scene, but you are a safe distance, but can still report what you're hearing and what you're seeing at this hour.
Rick, that's exactly right. We're standing right up against the crime scene tape. This is where police need us to be right now. We're behind several parked cars and several squad cars, and we're about a block away. We're in the center of the 3600 block of North 15th Street, but the action is happening on the 3700 block of North 15th Street, and I want to show you the action of exactly what is happening. It sounded like there was another muffled gunshot from possibly inside the home, which is where all of the activity has. You can hear those gunshots, and you can see some of the officers get down to the ground. You can also hear the neighbors shout when they happen. It's not clear, again, if those gunshots are coming from police officer guns or the suspect or suspect's guns in this case, but again, the rounds keep firing. It's been probably the 6th or 7th time that I've heard gunshots. And again, SWAT team, it looks like they've made it inside the building, but those gunshots sound rather loud, which would be indicative of gunshots that possibly could be coming outside of the building at this time. So again, we're staying a safe distance away, but it's not clear where those shots are coming from and how many people these officers in SWAT are dealing with inside this building.
Yes, so many questions that still need to be answered because it is such a fluid, breaking situation. These officers assessing as much as they can as they face this dangerous situation, just as we have been watching it unfold here now for about 90 minutes now.
Action News reporter Bob Brooks also in that community, a safe distance from the scene, but also he's been talking to residents. He's heard the gunshots since he arrived just over an hour ago. And Bob, what has transpired since we last talked to you?
More gunfire. Just when we think this thing might be coming to an end, when we get a couple minutes of just a break from the gunfire, we start to hear more. You can see just behind me here, nothing has changed too much from when you last were here with me at the scene. We have dozens of police officers, SWAT team members surrounding this area. Clearly, there is something still very wrong up near this home and something wrong with this situation here. Several officers at this point have been injured, 6 total. And this is again at North 15th, the 3700 block, Tioga Nicetown. When we first got here, for those joining us right now, we were rolling up to here about an hour and 15 minutes ago, hour and 20 minutes ago. There was people everywhere. The situation really hadn't got any control yet. We heard a round of gunfire. We had to duck behind some cars. Residents climbed up over fences to hide, going behind brick walls. And then the police started pushing us back, and they've been slowly pushing us back further and further to where they think the distance away is safe. I would say over the last half hour, we've heard 3 different rounds of gunfire, about 5 or 6 shots each. Again, we're hopeful that every time we hear that gunfire, that will be the last time that we hear it, but unfortunately, it keeps happening again. We just had one of the officers, one of the ranking officers with the Philadelphia Police Department. They just walked by. I asked him, I said, "Sir, is there still a threat?" He said, "Yes, absolutely." And then just as Maggie was doing her report, we were switching over to me. We heard another round of gunfire. So still a very dangerous situation, a fluid situation. We don't know if any officers might be in a horrible situation up in there. We don't know how many suspects there might be, if there is more than one. Police obviously have a job to do, and we're a pretty far distance away from anyone telling us anything at this moment. So obviously we'll keep you updated as soon as we get anything new here from the scene, but that is the latest for now. Live, Bob Brooks, Channel 6 Action News. Guys, back to you.
All right, Bob, what we can do is wait for an official statement from police, from the commissioner, from anyone, as we continue to monitor what is a volatile situation here in Tioga Nicetown.
This is video taken earlier by Chopper 6, and we want to draw your attention to the very far right of the screen. What we witnessed here, you see that? That there, bullets ricocheting against the houses and the concrete across the street as officers took on gunfire. We'll show it to you again. Just an example of just how dangerous this situation is. Those officers using those cars to take cover as best they could as they were being fired upon this afternoon.
And again, 6 officers we know have been injured, but the good news is none of those injuries are life-threatening. But again, it just speaks to the danger that they face every day, and certainly the dramatic situation that continues to play out here in this community. We've seen this video right here that we've shown you. One of the injured officers being rushed to a patrol car right here after he was shot and taken by his colleagues straight to Temple University Hospital.
We know at this point that 6 officers have been injured in all of this. At least 3 of them, are being treated at Temple University Hospital. So our Action News reporter, Gray Hall, has been monitoring the activity there because this is a terrible day, Gray, and the Philadelphia Police Department, those members rushing there to be with their wounded officers.
Absolutely right, Shari. Just a heartbreaking day. As I mentioned earlier, as these officers rush here to Temple University Hospital, you can see the look of distress, see the look of sadness on their faces. Also, several family members showing up to the hospital here with children. Take a look behind me. I'll set the scene here. You can see those officers there outside of the ER right now, some of them comforting each other and likely discussing what has happened today. In the center there, in the black shirt, tan shorts, you can see FOP president right there, John McNesby. He is the one that came over not too long ago and told us that 6 officers had been shot. We asked again, is it 6? He said yes. I can tell you not long ago also, a spokesperson with the police department came over, did not want to go on camera, just came over to tell us to continue to watch the Twitter feed. She would not confirm that number of 6. She did not really essentially give any information. But again, dozens of police officers here at the hospital rushing by the bedsides of their fellow co-workers. I can also tell you that sources tell us that at least one of those officers was grazed in the head by a bullet. And again, Rick and Shari, what you've been reporting is the good news in all this is that those injuries non-life threatening. But again, a source reporting to us that one of those officers was grazed in the head by a bullet. Those officers continue to rush here to Temple University Hospital. Also, family members, and to see those looks on those family members' faces as they jump out of the patrol cars and run into the hospital, you just feel for them, and you know that this is just a devastating day for the city of Philadelphia. Back to you guys.
All right, Gray, thank you. And if you get any statements or anything from Temple Hospital, certainly let us know, as we will go back live to you to get whatever official comments are made from Temple University Hospital. Thank you, Gray Hall. All right, back live now. Chopper 6 over the scene. You can see the flashing lights as police cruisers continuing to converge here. An army of police officers been on the scene since just after 4:30 this afternoon. And as the sun starts to set on this community, it still remains a volatile situation. Its neighbors are still being told to stay in place, move away from the situation. This neighborhood on lockdown as this active shooter situation continues to play out in this community.
Yeah, this neighborhood right now paralyzed in the city of Philadelphia, right now the center of attention in this country, because today 6 Philadelphia police officers have been shot and wounded in some capacity trying to do their job. We know it's a dangerous job, but a day like today is a day that just magnifies that to the ultimate degree. But this again, the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood, the 3700 block of North 15th Street, and this is far from over. We have reporters on the scene. We want to go back to Action News reporter Maggie Kent, who's at 15th and Pacific with the view of members of the SWAT team there on this very block with you, Maggie.
That's right, Shari. We're about a block away, about a half a block into the 3600 block of North 15th Street, and the activity is on the corner of the 3700 block of North 15th Street. And what you're looking at right now is SWAT officers. It seems as though about 15 minutes ago, they were able to make their way and gain entry inside of the building, which they have their focus on. There are SWAT members that you're looking at outside, but I do believe that we saw earlier some SWAT members heading inside. I can tell you about 10 minutes ago, or maybe even less, we heard another round of gunfire. And what's not clear is who's firing their weapon, if it's the suspect or suspects in this case, or if it's the officers in this case. Again, it's very tense here. As soon as those rounds of gunfire break out, the officers that are standing along the wall obviously kind of hug that wall and get closer to protect themselves. Many of the officers here on my side of the street crouch down to make sure that they don't get hit as well with any stray bullets or any shrapnel that may come their way. But it is a very active situation still. The SWAT members that you're looking at right now are just some of them. There are other SWAT team members inside of a SWAT truck, which is parked in the middle of 15th Street. You can hear some yelling going on right now on the scene, but no shots as of right now, thankfully.
Okay, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you. Well, we are getting more information here into Action News. So many questions as to what led up to this. And our understanding now, we're getting confirmation that authorities were attempting to serve a warrant at a home there in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood. When they, of course, were met with gunfire.
Exactly.
So.
Bob Brooks still at the scene. Again, we're talking about the 3700 block of North 15th Street, Tioga Nicetown. Bob, you're a few blocks away from that scene, but what are residents saying? Certainly they are wondering exactly what has happened to their neighborhood, and many of them certainly afraid. What are you hearing from neighbors, and what are you hearing from the scene just a few blocks up from where you are?
Well, Rick and Shar, we know that serving a warrant, I've spoke with many police officers throughout my career, that is one of the most dangerous jobs because you just simply don't know what it is you're walking into. And in this case, it seems like it was a total ambush. Again, 6 officers injured. When I first got here to the scene, and one of my first live shots that I did, I spoke with a woman here who heard everything. She was about a block away from this. She says, this is not an exaggeration, she heard about 100 rounds of gunfire. I checked that with several other neighbors around here. They say the same thing. In fact, that woman says that you could smell gunpowder from a block away, that's how many rounds of bullets were fired here at the scene. So you can only imagine what that must have been like. Now you can see not much has changed, unfortunately, from where we're standing, and since it hasn't, you can only assume that the situation is not de-escalating at this point. We continue to hear someone off in the distance speaking on a megaphone, and like Maggie was saying, luckily we haven't heard any gunfire the last 5 minutes, but up until the last 5 minutes, we had consistently heard rounds of gunfire, bullets being shot every 10 minutes since we've been here, and that's going on an hour and a half ago. When we first got here to the scene, it was very fluid. We were allowed to be all the way up near the intersection. Police, everyone had their guns drawn. There was people on porches of homes, rifles pointed at the building at the center of this investigation, and that's when a big round of gunfire happened. We had to duck behind cars. People had to scatter on the streets, run into their homes, and then that's when police, SWAT team members told us to get back to the position of where we are right now. I want everyone to know at home watching, I've had a lot of text messages come in, make sure we're at a safe distance. This is where the Philadelphia police want us. This is where they think we're safe right now. So we feel okay, but as you can imagine, the community up here, to have something like this happen, 6 of our Philadelphia police officers shot, in one investigation, serving one warrant. It's devastating. Their thoughts and prayers with those officers, their family members. They know what kind of work they do and how dangerous of a situation this can all be. So we, the police, the neighbors up here, we all want this to come to an end. But unfortunately, from what we can see right here, it does not look like it is, especially anytime soon. I'm reporting live, Bob Brooks, Channel 6, Action News.
Yeah, Bob, there are people on social media just weighing in, sending so much love and prayers to our Philadelphia police officers who are working in absolute harm's way, particularly on this day. A live look now from Chopper 6 HD, the view over this neighborhood, which has been, at this point, it is just all about trying to get this situation resolved and have no more people injured. This live look now in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood, where we, of course, know dozens of police officers are still on the scene. This entire area now brought to a complete halt as the complete focus is to get the people who are, at this point, have been firing at these officers throughout the day to get them into custody.
Yes, as day turns to dark, again, the officers continuing to converge here, continuing to try and bring some type of resolution to what has been a dangerous, volatile, violent situation here in this community of Tioga Nicetown. We've seen so many officers converging, and again, dramatic video like this earlier today as officers ducking behind their patrol cars and running through the streets as shots were fired, trying to get their colleagues to safety who've been injured and trying to bring in reinforcements, officers who are not wearing the body armor. Again, this one officer who was injured right here,
because it's typically the patrol officers who are first line of defense.
And taking to the hospital as more reinforcements come in, more armed artillery reinforcements come in, the SWAT team members, the ATF, heavy artillery equipment coming in, converging in this neighborhood. And take a look at all of those cruisers as police again arrived in full force, an army of officers with their guns drawn, trying to bring some safety and peace back into this community of Tioga Nicetown.
Let's go to Action News' Sara Bloomquist covering this along with us on this afternoon. Sara, live in the newsroom with more from there. Sara.
Yeah, we've been monitoring it here in the newsroom, our assignment desk, working to gather as much information as we can as it's coming in this evening. We're coming up close to 2 hours now that this has been unfolding here in the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia. Our understanding at the moment was this began with a warrant service, possibly a narcotics warrant here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. It rapidly escalated with shots being fired. One officer after another, the reports came in that they had suffered gunshot wounds. At the moment, that tally up to 6 Philadelphia police officers suffering gunshot wounds in the last 2 hours here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. All these officers were responded here at the scene. Of course, they're concerned for their colleagues. You can see in this video here of them lined up, and they want them to move back at this point. There have been so many shots fired that they want some of those uniformed officers moved back. The SWAT team is right there on the scene at the moment, coordinating their efforts, trying to figure out how to bring this to a peaceful conclusion. It's been unclear throughout this. There have been so many unknowns, just how many shooters there may be inside this house. Bob Brooks talking to witnesses on this scene there who said they heard dozens upon dozens of shots being fired. We watched extraordinary live pictures of Philadelphia police officers diving for cover behind cars parked there on the street, and we could see the bullets ricocheting off the pavement as they took cover. Unfortunately, some of them came into the line of fire, and as they exchanged shots, they were shot. 6 of them here in the city of Philadelphia this afternoon. This all started at about 4:30 this afternoon. We started to hear the reports here in the newsroom of these shots being fired. Police officers converged there on the scene, and then the SWAT team called in for reinforcements. They moved in one of those large vehicles that they can take cover behind, duck behind, as this gunfire continued to come. But they won't rush this. They will wait out whoever is in this house and do their best they can to bring this to a peaceful resolution. Information continues to come in. We'll bring it to you as we get it. Shari and Rick.
All right, Sara, thank you. And again, just to reiterate, this may have all started of a warrant being served at the address here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. Again, we're looking live from one of our various cameras at the scene. A SWAT team, a heavy SWAT team presence as we await this dramatic moments continuing to unfold here in Tioga and Icetown. And actually, reporter Maggie Ken is also standing by at the scene at that position, but certainly safe away to be able to let us know exactly what's going on in that community. Maggie, what do you see and what do you hear for us right now?
Rick, it has gotten eerily quiet here. I'm standing directly next to the camera, so I'm seeing exactly what everyone else is seeing on their screens right now. The SWAT team still outside of this building where the suspect or suspects are inside, but the noise level has gone completely down, and that's because we can hear officers yelling commands right now. They're yelling, "Come out with your hands up, come out with your hands up," repeating that over and over again. Obviously, we have not heard anyone or seen anyone coming out, and of course we would bring that to you as soon as we do. But again, the whole operation has quieted. We haven't heard gunshots in quite a while now, which is good news. But we do keep hearing officers yell, "Come out with your hands up, come out with your hands up," and that's all directed towards the home where the SWAT team is standing outside. There are still plenty of officers, uniformed officers on our side of the street. We're of course a safe distance away, but a lot of officers just want to know what's happening, what's going on. Of course, they're concerned as 6 of their fellow officers have been injured now, and this scene is still very active. But again, I just want to stress this is still going on, and they're still trying to communicate with whoever may be inside of that house. They're still yelling commands, asking people to come out with their hands up. But again, no shots for, I would say, the last 20 minutes. To be honest, it is hard to tell what time it is right now. Everything at one point seems to be going in fast motion, other times seems to be going in slow motion, and I'm sure the officers and the neighbors here feel the exact same way. This incident started at about 4:30. It is now about 6:30, and it is still very tense here, but all has quieted in the neighborhood as onlookers just kind of stand by, hoping for the best and waiting to see what's happening, and that's inclusive of the officers as well who are here on scene.
Okay, Maggie, thank you. We also know Commissioner Richard Ross is there on the scene where this is unfolding in North Philadelphia. We have an update here in regards to the number of officers wounded and injured. We can confirm 6 officers have been shot in all of this. This again unfolding in Tioga and Nicetown. We also know there are other officers receiving treatment, but they were non-gunshot wound related. So 6 officers have been wounded by gunfire, but several other officers are receiving treatment for injuries sustained in other ways beyond gunshot wounds. Let's go now live back to Temple University Hospital, where Action News reporter Gray Hall is live on the scene. Gray, what's the latest from there?
Well, Shari, this continues to be the same scene. We hear these stories across the country, but now it has hit home, and what a devastating day it is for the city of Philadelphia. We can tell you we've seen family members and fellow officers rushing here to the hospital. Take a look behind me. Just a lot of sadness and a lot of officers just coming together to support their injured colleagues on this day. No new individuals in terms of officials that we've seen have come here to the scene as of yet. FOP President McNesby still here, but several other family members have come here to the hospital. And again, that number, Shari, we are confirming now 6 officers injured. And if anything is good out of this, is that the injuries are not considered to be life-threatening. We can tell you again, a source reporting that at least one of those officers was grazed in the head by a bullet. This definitely a disturbing, heartbreaking day for the city of Philadelphia, for this police department. This is a day that is going to test this police department. Again, you see these brothers and these sisters coming together and uniting as one body, as one force. A lot of them coming here for their fellow co-workers. We can tell you we saw one family member coming here, an elderly guy saying saying, my son is inside this hospital. We'll continue to monitor the situation. We expect and we hope to hear from officials a bit later tonight about exactly what transpired and maybe update us on the injuries of these officers, but definitely our hearts and thoughts go out to the injured. Sorry, Rick.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, the time is 6:26, and we want to just update you on the situation. Rick Williams along with Shari Williams here. It's been just over 2 hours as we've been reporting this breaking news story from the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia. Now, and as more information comes in, we're telling these dramatic pictures that we continue to see unfolding all afternoon started as a narcotics warrant was being served on the 3700 block of North 15th Street when all of a sudden gunfire exploded and shattering the common serenity of this community. Residents forced to go inside and flee, and an army of police officers rushing to the scene as one by one officers were shot, injured. None of the injuries life-threatening, fortunately, but that is the situation we have here. What was an active shooter situation is now turning out to be what seems to be some type of police standoff as officers waiting for a suspect or suspects to surrender their weapons, perhaps come out quietly. We've heard from Maggie Kent, who we're going to check in with in just a moment, as some of the officers saying, come out with your hands up, surrender, and certainly try to bring some type of resolution to this area. Let's go back to Action News reporter Maggie Kent. Not far from the situation on 15th Street, but certainly close enough to tell us exactly what continues to transpire there. Maggie.
Rick, I can tell you that they just brought another heavily armored SWAT truck around. I'm not exactly sure where they're trying to position that, but it just crossed Erie Avenue, heading up towards 16th Street. So they are still bringing forces in and still bringing manpower here to the scene. I heard a few loud bangs, but it didn't sound as loud or as piercing as gunshots. Most recently, it could have been a battering ram that they were using to try and break down a door or something like that. Again, not exactly clear. We can only see what you can see in front of us now, so we're just taking it all in together, listening to what's happening, and of course reporting it back in real time. Just saw another SWAT member kind of running down across the street. Now a few lieutenants, captains here arriving in the white shirts and standing along with the officers who are in blue, and they're kind of still, again, pushed up against the side of the wall to ensure that they aren't injured, hurt with any bullets or shrapnel. But again, we are across the street and we're in a safe area, a safe location. There are a few more officers walking back down. It's not clear if they're clearing out or positioning somewhere else at this moment. But again, very tense, very quiet here. The entire neighborhood on edge. They want to know what's going on. And of course, they're all standing behind this police tape, but I saw a woman peeking out from her home, but quickly closing the door and remaining inside, which is exactly what police officers are asking people to do in this area, because it is still not a secure location. It's still not safe. We can see some plainclothes officers and other police officers kind of crowding the sidewalk here now and walking down towards us. I'm not sure what that's indicative of. I'm not sure if they've gotten word that the situation has been resolved or if they've been asked to go back to their posts throughout other areas of the city, but it certainly doesn't look as though the situation has been cleared up right now, and it doesn't feel as though it has. Many of these officers came from different parts of the city, so I'm sure they've been asked to head back and head towards their posts as well, so that the remainder of the city has patrol. But again, we're looking straight down the North 15th Street. We're on the 3600 block, and all this activity and action is happening on the 3700 block, and this is a live view. We've been asked to duck down multiple times when gunshots have been going off. We've been asked to kind of move to secure locations, and right at this moment we're being asked to kind of back up and give officers some space. They say that they're moving some squad cars and patrol cars out, so that may be indicative of some good news that this may be coming to a close, but of course we can't say that for sure. I just know that some squad cars right by where we're standing will have to move out of North 15th Street. So we'll give you the very latest as soon as we can get out of their way and let them operate safely and do what they need to do.
Okay, Maggie, be safe where you are. We'll, of course, be checking back in with you. It is 6:30 Wednesday afternoon. This is Action News here in Philadelphia. World News Tonight, we are not going to take that program, and the reason why is because of the violence that is unfolding right here in Philadelphia. This is video from earlier today from Chopper 6. We see right there an officer who was wounded being rushed to a patrol car. Our understanding is just around 4:30 today, Philadelphia police officers were attempting to serve a narcotics operation warrant in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood on the 3700 block of North 15th Street. And we are told by a law enforcement official that serving that warrant, quote, went bad. A gunfire erupted. Officers then had to take cover. And at this point, we know SWAT, ATF, and other federal members are now in this neighborhood because an active shooter situation is still happening. This has been now 2 hours since this all began. We know that 6 officers have been shot and other officers wounded, but not by gunfire, but 6 Philadelphia police officers wounded in this today while trying to serve this warrant. Those injuries said to be non-life-threatening.
And before we go to Bob, stand by, Bob. We just want to mention that we've been notified that because this is a national story, President Trump has been briefed about this situation transpiring here in North Philadelphia and is monitoring the situation. But Bob, you are there at the situation. You're in a safe distance from what continues to unfold there, and what is the very latest from your vantage point?
Well, Rick and Shari, unfortunately, not much is happening right now. Just echoing what Maggie was talking about, it getting kind of eerily quiet compared to what it was. You're fearful that as the evening gets later and the sun starts to go down, we might be in this for the long haul. Hopefully that doesn't happen, that this will come to an end. But unfortunately, you can see behind me here, my perspective hasn't changed too much, and you want it to so bad. You want this to come to an end, but it seems like things have become kind of dug into where we are right now. You can see dozens of police officers surrounding the area, again, right at the intersection of North 15th and 3700 block, Tioga Nicetown. I'm going to say for about the last half hour, maybe 45 minutes. Hard to keep track exactly how much time has passed by. We haven't had any gunfire. That's good. Not much has changed, though, like I said, and you want some progress to be made. Just recapping from my perspective of what's gone on since we got here, pretty much since right after we got the call, we came here to the scene. Right where you see all those officers standing from where I'm at is where we were. No one really knew exactly what was going on. There was hundreds of people out here on the streets who had heard the gunfire. Some neighbors telling me 100 rounds were shot. Other neighbors telling me they could smell gunpowder from a block away. Well, then, as we were standing there getting ready for our broadcast, gunfire erupted, and that's when it consistently began to happen for the next hour. We had to get behind some cars. People scattered. Police came up to us. They drove us back. The whole crowd had to come back behind the yellow tape of where we're standing right now, and that's where we're at. The gunfire, luckily, has ceased for the last half hour, 45 minutes, but the situation, we know there's one, we know it's not good, whatever it is going on up in those homes right now, but police seem to be dug in. You can see officers with vests on, blue shirt officers, some white shirt officers here, and as one passed me not too long ago, I did ask him, is there still a threat? He said absolutely, and that is clear right now. We've heard Maggie talking about armored vehicles from her perspective. We've heard commands being given over a megaphone. Haven't heard any of those the last couple minutes, but we consistently had been hearing them, though that's come to a stop right now. So as you can imagine, though, this community is absolutely devastated to have 6 of our Philadelphia police officers wounded, serving a warrant. Again, I have spoke with police officers throughout my career who talk about how dangerous of a job it is to serve a warrant because you don't know what you're going into. You don't know who these people are. If they have a warrant for their arrest, they're bad people. And you walk in, it might be an ambush, and that appears to what has happened up here this evening in Tioga Nicetown. Rick, Shari, back to you.
All right, Bob, thank you. And of course, stand by. We will continue to come to you throughout the evening as this situation unfolds. And once again, we would just want to show you the dramatic video we have witnessed live from Chopper 6 throughout the afternoon, including this video, this dramatic piece of video of one of the injured officers being rushed to a patrol car and taken from the scene by his colleagues to Temple University Hospital. 6 officers shot, none of the injuries life-threatening, thank God, but additional officers receiving treatment for other injuries as this situation continues to explode in violence. And again, moving into just after 6:30, 2 hours later, police officers still on the scene, an army of officers, SWAT team members, members of the strike force, the elite team that handles violent situations, ultra-violent situations in Philadelphia, and members of the ATF still in this community trying to bring some type of conclusion, trying to bring either a suspect or suspects into custody following what has been just an explosive day here in this neighborhood of Tioga Nicetown.
The Philadelphia Police Department doing its best while handling this situation to put out updated information. They are, without question, asking people to avoid this area because the situation is still active and ongoing. Chopper 6 HD now giving us the live view of this neighborhood in North Philadelphia. This particular area, we see people gathering who likely live in this neighborhood, who frequent this neighborhood, who want to know what's going on. It's still a dangerous, active situation, but the police have various areas roped off. Our crews and reporters are definitely following the instructions from the officers on the ground to stay at that safe distance. But this is the job. We are there to give the vantage point of what is happening in this community, in this city that we all call home.
As we continue to look live here from our chopper here in this community of Tioga Nicetown, and also from our live cameras at Temple University Hospital, it's important to note that we have yet to hear any official statements from police, from the FOP, from the mayor, from the commissioner, which I think speaks to the fact that this is such a fluid situation that no information can really be imparted officially to the media yet, because things continue to happen, continue to transpire as the day goes on, as the afternoon turns into an evening, as the day turns into night. And again, this neighborhood's relatively still unsafe, but an army of police officers still trying to bring some type of conclusion to what has happened here since 4:30 this afternoon.
All right, let's go back now to Temple University Hospital, where we know several of those wounded officers have been taken for treatment. Action News reporter Christy Aletto has arrived on the scene, joining now Gray Hall. Gray, Christy, what's the latest?
Well, go ahead, Christy.
All right, well, actually, we just saw a family member, so 2 family members of what we believe were related to one of the injured officers, possibly parents of one of the injured officers, leave. They looked obviously very frazzled and rattled, but relieved in the sense that he's still alive. I mean, we've been told that they have non-life-threatening injuries. They got into a Belmar police cruiser and were escorted away, but again, very frazzled, but also looked very relieved in the sense that their son possibly is
And
still
as we
alive.
give you this update, we want to show you the scene here at Temple University Hospital. We'll kind of step out of the way so you can see what's going on. And what's been happening throughout the day here, a flood of police officers and also family members here on the scene. Rick, you or Sara mentioned this. We have yet to hear officially from any official with the police department, FOP, the mayor's office, not at this point because of what's happening. We do expect that to happen later today. But again, these officers and family members rushing here to the hospital, some looking in disbelief, some in shock, and of course, heartbroken about what has transpired in the city of Philadelphia and what a dark day it is for the city of Philadelphia's police department.
Agreed. I mean, you can still see just looking at these live pictures of the flurry of activity that's outside of the trauma center, the emergency entrance here at Temple University Hospital. A lot of officers just wanting to be here to show their support for those 6 officers. I know one of them is at Einstein, but the majority of them have been taken here to this hospital and just wanting to show their support for their brethren that have been injured in this incident that apparently all started over a warrant that was supposed to have been served. So obviously a very somber scene, and then you see a lot of residents that are just on the sidewalk that are here, you know, they're curious, but then you talk to some of them and they're like, wow, I can't believe that this has happened, not only in my neighborhood, but I'm watching half a dozen officers being rushed here to Temple University Hospital during this whole shootout.
And Rick and Sara, again, just devastating and mind-blowing for this to happen in the city city of Philadelphia. We've been covering nationally these shootings across the country. Now this is hit in our neighborhood. It is heartfelt. It is impactful. And I can tell you throughout the day, we've been monitoring social media. And what's so impactful is to see those tweets that say non-life-threatening injuries. Our heart goes out to these officers, but thankfully, non-life-threatening injuries. Back to you guys.
Yeah, that's the good news, certainly. The 6 officers shot, injured, but their injuries not life-threatening. That's the good news. Thank you very much, Gray and Christy, as we look live once again, Chopper 6 over the scene here in this neighborhood of Tioga, Nicetown. And again, the darkness descending on this community, but it still remains a volatile situation nonetheless. Police officers still here, their mission to try and bring some type of safety to this neighborhood after what has been 2 hours of explosive violence that has seen 6 officers rush to the hospital.
Yeah, but it has happened again. Men and women in uniform under fire, this time on this day happening in the city of Philadelphia, where 6 officers have been shot while doing their job, trying to serve a narcotics warrant. We know the job is dangerous and that it has to be done. And these men and women in uniform, they do it with pride. They do it to the best of their ability and to keep themselves safe, because just like we go home to our families at night, these officers, that is their goal, their mission as well. So again, 6 officers shot while serving this narcotics warrant. We are told the injuries are non-life-threatening, as Chopper 6 gives us the live view of what's happening now in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood. The activity has been a bit quiet from officers in this moment here in the past few minutes, because earlier, of course, we saw them gathering their tactical positions, and we saw the armored vehicle, which is still there on the scene. But the Philadelphia Police Department, some of their employees who work in the media are tweeting, and they are making it very clear this is still a very active situation. This situation is not over. So while it may be a bit quiet, we know that there is likely communication happening with whoever is holed up in that home. Work is still being done, and their goal, this police department, is hoping to bring this person out and to put the person, of course, in custody and bring a resolution to this. So we take a live look now at Temple University Hospital. We know for certain the trauma team there has been on standby for whoever may come in with whatever type of injury. We know several of the officers with the Philadelphia Police Department are being treated here at Temple University Hospital. We also had word of one being at Einstein. So we'll continue to work to see where everyone is, since we know 6 have been shot, but several other officers, Rick, injured in all of this.
And as we heard from the reporters here, if there are any official statements here from the hospital, whether it's from doctors or the police commissioner, even the mayor, we certainly will bring it to you. But this is the situation outside of Temple University Hospital, as rank and file pray for their colleagues, but certainly celebrate the fact that none of those injuries are life-threatening. Once again, we're live from Chopper 6 over the scene here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street in Tioga, Nicetown. A situation still unfolding, a very fluid scene as police officers, again, try to bring safety to this neighborhood, which has been on lockdown really since 4:30 this afternoon.
Take a look at that, Rick. In the bottom screen here, I think some of the heat fumes may be interfering with the image, but I see the officers taking down, are they re-roping the tape there? Okay, they're just readjusting the perimeter. Officers speaking also with some of the neighbors. Some could very well have come home from their work day, or from wherever they were today, to find this was the situation. Officers surely trying to accommodate those who live in this neighborhood, but they also have a job to do, and that job has not been secured yet, of the person that they are engaging, this active shooter situation. A lot of curious people are outside wanting to see firsthand what's happening right where they live.
Well, again, the magnitude of this situation, multiple officers shot in one crime situation while trying to serve what we have determined to be some type of narcotics warrant, an explosion of violence, 6 officers, Philadelphia police officers, injured in what has turned out to be a volatile, violent situation here. Residents, certainly, people who live here, certainly wondering what has happened to their community, what has happened to their block that remains closed off, certainly circled by yellow tape, indicative of something very serious, very volatile, that continues to play out here in Tioga, Nicetown.
Yeah, so many layers to this for the Philadelphia Police Department, right? Because they're doing their job to serve the warrant, and then they have to do the job to find and seek shelter, and then they have to do the job of alerting the surrounding neighborhood. Then they have to continue their job to try to keep people safe there and also keep themselves safe, and to try and get this situation to a place where at some point it can be resolved. And they're doing all of this right here on their workday in the middle of North Philadelphia. So many layers to what they are having to do to get themselves in position to tactically address what's in front of them. We saw them rotating what were likely the first responders were those who were the everyday patrol officers who weren't really equipped with the right gear to handle what was in front of them.
Yeah, we saw the dramatic pictures of reinforcements arriving.
Yeah, we did.
Of armed police officers, the body armor, the SWAT teams, the heavy artillery arriving at the scene. And one person who has been able to see it all from a safe distance, of course, is Action News reporter Bob Brooks, who remains in that community, but again on the other side of that crime tape at a safe distance, but still being able to let us know what is happening and what he's seeing and what he's hearing at this hour. Bob.
Well, Rick and Shari, it's been such a tense and almost hard to remember exactly all that has happened since the time we first arrived here. And just on our way here in the news truck, in the Action News van, we saw dozens and dozens of police SUV go whizzing right by us here on their way to the scene. And then when we hopped out of the truck, we came and saw this, just a massive collection of police officers, those SWAT team members, and everyone else just doing their initial first response. When I was walking up here ahead of our crew, just quickly, they were carrying the gear. I was trying to get up here as quick as I could. There was people scattered all over the place. Officers had their guns drawn. They didn't know what was about to happen. We were right in the middle of the intersection of North 15th and 3700 block. So we were right where you see all of those officers. And then the first wave of gunfire happened. About a dozen shots were fired. They were close. And that's when it really hit us that this is for real. This is obviously something horrible that is going on up here. And we got behind some cars. We tried to send out some tweets and some video of what was going on. And then police have been doing their job since then. We know that, and we certainly are keeping our thoughts and prayers with those 6 officers that have been shot. Luckily, non-life-threatening injuries from what we've been told. But we know the situation isn't over. We hope there won't be any other police officers that suffer any injuries. But right now, it seems like things are kind of dug into where we are. When we first got here, for about the first hour and 15 minutes, there was steady gunfire, then a break, more gunfire, then a break. It kept everyone on edge, but now things are starting to get a little bit quiet. And as the evening progresses, the sun starts to set up here. You hope that it doesn't drag on into the night, and who knows how much longer. But police have obviously taken a position from where they are. There's a job being done right now, and that is to remedy this situation without further injury to anyone involved with this. We spoke with neighbors when we first got here. They say they heard no less than 100 rounds fired. I cross-checked that with a couple other people up here. That's what everybody is saying. Some say that they've smelled the gunpowder from about a block away of where we were. And then since we've been here, Rick and Shari, we've heard gunfire ourselves. We know it's been on air. I've had people texting me, asking me if I'm okay, saying that they've heard the gunshots live on TV as well. So just a horrible situation that's happening up here. Again, police have sort of taken this perimeter. At the initial start of this, they were way up into what looked like a vacant lot or a community park. They were gathered up there, and that's when it sounded like a lot. That's where a lot of the gunfire was happening. But now they've taken that step back, and it seems like we've kind of hit a standoff where we are right now. We had heard a lot of commands happening on a megaphone. Haven't heard that in a while. Police not running around as much, but they have sort of put up some SUVs right here to make a barricade should anything happen. But we want people to know that we are where the Philadelphia police put us. We are in a safe location, and we're here. A lot of neighbors are here hoping this comes to an end. And again, thankfully, those 6 officers who were wounded, non-life-threatening injuries, but we still know there's a very dangerous situation happening right behind where I'm standing, and we're anxious that it can come to an end, come to a non-violent end up here in Tioga, now Nicetown. Rick Shari, back to you.
Yeah.
All right, Bob.
We, of course, will be checking back in with you, Bob. Thank you for your reporting. We want to now give you a view from Einstein Medical Center. This is where one of the 6 wounded officers was taken to be treated. This is the live view. We have a crew on the ground here at Einstein. We see an officer there who's keeping watch and keeping guard. At least one Philadelphia police officer was rushed here to receive treatment after this shooting unfolded. Of course, we know that happened, Rick, about 4:30. So we are going now on almost 2.5 hours.
Absolutely, and certainly this is a completely different scene from what we've seen at Temple University Hospital, where most of the officers were taken for treatment. But we'll continue to monitor both hospitals for word of any official statement from authorities. But in the meantime, let's go back to the scene. Action News reporter Maggie Kent, who is standing by 15th and Pacific, not far from where the situation took place. But again, as you can see, residents are standing by waiting to learn any information. And Maggie, what are you hearing and seeing right now?
In just about the last 5 minutes, we've been pushed back another half a block. All of the officers have also asked everyone here that is congregated to find out what's been happening to be pushed to either side of the street, and that's what the onlookers have been doing. But we've also heard a lot of concern because there are parents now coming and arriving on scene to pick up their children after work, and there is a daycare across the street from where all of this is going on. There's a SWAT team vehicle right in the center of the street. On the other side of that, there is a daycare. So parents, of course, are concerned about their children and their well-being, as anyone else would be. I also spoke to a woman who couldn't get into her house. She was calling her mother and her daughter to make sure that they were okay as well. I'm going to step out here so you can see the scene, and Jackie, who's working with us today, is going to pan up so you can get a look at what the SWAT team is doing behind us. This is the best possible view that we have right now because we're using our Zoom to get all the way down to the street. Jackie's going to lift up now so you can get a better look at the SWAT team and what's happening.
Okay, looks like we lost Maggie's mic, but we will certainly go back to her when things right themselves. In the meantime, Chopper 6 once again live over the scene, 3700 block of North 15th Street. The flashing lights right there in the middle of your screen indicating that this situation is still fluid. Darkness descending on this community, but the safety and the peace still nowhere to be found as police continue to try and bring some type of resolution to what has been an active shooter situation, may have now become certainly some type of police standoff. We are cautiously trying to gather as much information as we can as to what exactly is happening there, how many suspects police are focusing on, and just how volatile a situation this is. But police continue to remain here and continue to try to bring safety here. Here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street, Tioga, Nicetown, moving into the 7 o'clock hour. Yeah, it's been almost 2.5 hours since the violence exploded here in this community.
Yeah, the city of Philadelphia now garnering a lot of national attention because of this shooting that has left 6 officers shot in one day while trying to serve 1 warrant. We also know that President Trump has been briefed on this situation and that he too is monitoring what is unfolding here in Philadelphia. Let's go now to Sara Bloomquist, who is in our newsroom covering this pretty devastating day. Sara.
Yeah, that's right, Shari. The eyes of the nation are on the city of Philadelphia right now. Everybody watching what is unfolding here in our city. 6 Philadelphia police officers shot this afternoon, others who have been wounded. Just a dramatic situation unfolding here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. It does appear now that we are in a standoff situation, that the police are in a standoff situation. They will likely wait this out, try to negotiate negotiate with whoever is inside this house after an afternoon of rapid gunfire here in this residential neighborhood in the city's Tioga Nicetown section. At this point, they have moved back most of the uniformed police officers to try to keep them out of harm's way. As Maggie and our reporters have been saying, they keep trying to push back the onlookers as well as they try to bring this situation to a peaceful resolution. As we've been saying, there is a lot that we don't know. We don't know how many people were in that house as this all began to unfold. As you said, this all began at about 4:30 this afternoon with the service of a narcotics warrant, we are told, and then the gunfire began to explode here on this street. We saw officers diving for cover, trying to get out of the way of those bullets that were flying. 6 of them could not do that. 6 of them are now in the hospital being treated for gunshot wounds to various parts of their bodies. As I said earlier, this has been an extraordinarily violent year in the city of Philadelphia. 203 murders, 178 the result of gunfire. Every night we bring you stories of multiple shootings, and here we are again. This time, Philadelphia police officers are in the line of fire. Police have staged at various locations throughout the area here as they work to monitor the situation. They have brought in all of their resources. The SWAT team, the elite strike force is there on the scene as well. They have also, I believe, state police have now been called in to assist. They also have these armored vehicles there on the scene to help them take cover, to try to keep them out of the line of that gunfire. But again, we believe this all began with a warrant service at around 4:30 this afternoon. Rick?
All right, Sarah, I have a quick question for you. I know you've been working the phones, and certainly we'll pose this to the reporters at the scene as well. Are we certain that this is just one suspect that police are dealing with that are perhaps keeping them at bay in a standoff? Or could there be more than one person that police are trying to apprehend at this hour?
I don't know for sure. I know they have been talking about trying to confirm how many shooters were in or shooter was in that house. Again, there's so much that is unknown about what is actually inside the house, but there has been a large amount of gunfire coming from that location. This person or persons must have been armed with an extraordinary amount of ammunition. Our reporters talking about dozens of shots fired, and then officers fired back. They wanted to ensure that nobody was hurt in the crossfire here as well. So they want to move all those officers back, let the SWAT team do their work here. But again, 6 officers have been shot here in the city of Philadelphia, and there are more officers who were injured. We don't know the extent of those injuries or what exactly those came from. It could have been the shrapnel or the bullets ricocheting, those sorts of things here in the Tioga Nicetown section of the city. But we, again, as you said, we are still waiting to hear anything official from the police commissioner. We did have some information from the FOP. They did confirm for us that those 6 officers were hurt here this afternoon. Were actually shot, and then more were hurt. We have officers right now at Temple University Hospital, officers as well over at Einstein, all being treated. Just an extraordinary, tense situation here, and they will take their time with this. They will wait it out at this point. They will, I would imagine, try to negotiate with whoever is inside this house at the moment here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. I would imagine as well that they have moved people out of their surrounding homes to get them out of the line of fire as well. But just that we will be monitoring this situation now. It's wait and see, I believe, as we hope that these officers can bring this to a peaceful resolution, take whoever is inside this house into custody without any more harm to any members of the Philadelphia Police Department.
Yeah, like we said, Sarah, there's just so many layers to what is taking place simultaneously. The Philadelphia Police Department trained eyes on dealing with the suspect or suspects. Also now, this is happening in a dense residential area. We have people who live in these homes. We've seen the bullets ricocheting and flying around. So the safety of those who are there, who live in the area, those cops that we watched earlier have to take cover behind vehicles that are parked along the street. The intensity of this has been just enormous, and all of this happening while they're doing their best to keep the media informed and to give updates to the national media that have also now keyed in on what's happening in Philadelphia.
And so many dramatic pictures we've seen since 4:30 this afternoon. We will continue to show them as the situation unfolds. That what we do know officially, it started when officers trying to serve a narcotics warrant in this community when something went terribly wrong. Gunfire exploding in this neighborhood, 6 officers shot here in the Tioga Nicetown section, and most of them taken to Temple University Hospital, where we want to go back live to Action News reporters Gray Hall and Christy Leto standing by with an update on what's happening there.
Yeah, and just before that, it is 7 p.m. Wednesday. This is Action News in Philadelphia. We are, of course, preempting other programming as we attend to this breaking major story that is unfolding in our neighborhood, in our community. So we will stay on this story as long as it merits.
Okay.
So that is our stance on our coverage into the evening here. So as we head out now to Gray and Christy. Guys, you there?
Yeah, sorry, Rick. What a devastating and heartbreaking day for the city of Philadelphia, for this police department. This is essentially the epicenter where those officers are being transported, being treated. We've seen dozens and dozens of officers flocking to Temple University Hospital, to the ER center. And also, what's really heartbreaking, we've seen those family members being rushed here to the hospital. And you can see the look of panic and despair on their faces as they rush here to the hospital. Still no official word from any authorities out here at the hospital.
All we know is that they have non-life-threatening conditions. Even just moments ago, we saw a mother and her daughter actually try to get in, believed to be a relative of one of these officers that have been injured. I mean, again, fortunately, we know that they have been non-life-threatening injuries, but again, looking live at the trauma center here in the emergency entrance at Temple University Hospital, flurry of activity. Obviously, a lot of officers here outside the entrance, and then again, we've been seeing a flurry of just like family members coming and going. We also just recently saw the council president, Darrell Clark, show up. We're hoping to maybe he'll make some sort of, give us some sort of information, semblance of what's happening inside, how those officers are doing, who he's spoken with, but a lot of activity out here.
Yeah, so as we step back into the camera, Rick and Shari, again, just a devastating day for this city and a huge story here, not only in Philadelphia, but across this country, and certainly one that we don't like to cover when officers are injured. You heard President Trump even weighing in on this. We've covered these stories nationally. Now it has hit home. You can see a police van just fled in here right now. We don't know who is in that van, but it's a police van that just came in. We hope to get some kind of information on who that was or gets out of that van. But again, several officers have been taken here. Still no official word from anyone yet. We hope to have some kind of news conference or update from likely the mayor or commissioner later today.
That's right. Back to you guys.
All right. Thank you, Gray. Thank you, Christy. Once again, 6 officers shot. Additional officers receiving treatment for their injuries. Those officers shot, suffering non-life-threatening injuries. And again, this is some of the images that have been playing out throughout the day. Dramatic pictures of officers running for cover as gunfire exploding in the neighborhood, a wild shootout. One of the officers here in the middle of your screen injured and rushed into this patrol car and then taken to the hospital. One of 6 officers shot and wounded here at this scene in Tioga Nicetown. And just so many pictures that will continue to unfold. So much information still to be released to the media, but just from our vantage points, and we've been sitting here since 4:30 watching this unfold, it has been quite a day of violence and volatility here in this neighborhood of Tioga Nicetown.
A sergeant who works with the department putting out as updates as he can just now at 7 o'clock, just reiterating that the shooter is still armed inside of this location. Avoid the area. The 6 Philadelphia police officers who were shot in all of this receiving treatment right now at various hospitals, Temple University, one of them, Einstein, the other that we know for certain. But 6 officers shot and several others wounded, but not from gunfire. So they are all receiving treatment and being tended to while this situation is still active and the threat has not gone away. It is still a dangerous situation. This video again is from earlier today, taken by Chopper 6. This all began to unfold around 4:30 today on this afternoon, and it has just been a very busy devastating day.
Yeah, our camera's trying to get into place as we deal with the darkness that's descending on the neighborhood. But we're showing you the images, but we also want to show you what the officer have had to deal with and what residents have heard in this neighborhood as the gunfire exploded. Take a listen to this, to the video and the audio coming up.
Hey, you guys want to take us live here? Shots.
Just an indication of what officers have had to deal with as the scene exploded into violence. A wild shootout taking place here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street in Tioga, Nicetown. Just a chaotic situation as more and more officers arrived to trying to determine exactly what's going on and to make sure neighbors and residents are brought to safety and told to stay away from this neighborhood, which has been on lockdown again since about 4:30 this afternoon. The situation still fluid. Neighbors wondering what is going on in their neighborhood. And as we're looking live now, it looks like people are coming out of the residence here. Perhaps they were hostages in this standoff, but people are being brought out by police from the residence that they've been focusing on since 4:30 this afternoon. Certainly this has been a standoff situation, but looks like some residents are being brought out of the house safely as police continue to focus their attention on perhaps the gunman who apparently is still inside.
Yeah, we will continue to, of course, get as much accurate information as possible. What we know, though, is the women and young children that you see right now being escorted here along the sidewalk were indeed in one of the nearby houses. Not for certain if it was particularly the house where the said gunman is, but we do know that those young ladies and the children were just escorted from closer to the center of the action being attended to, and will likely then be questioned and just to get their vantage point of what they heard and what they witnessed on this day where 6 police officers have been shot.
And neighbors have told our reporters at the scene, Bob Brooks, Maggie Kent, they've heard hundreds of rounds of gunfire this afternoon while they were sitting at home, while they were sitting on their porch, while they were walking through the neighborhood. And that has turned to this. Again, a neighborhood in lockdown, a police officer still on the scene trying to bring peace and safety back to this community. The flashing lights indicating that this is still a fluid scene. No one in custody that we know of. The gunman certainly not in custody that we know of right now.
What we know, Rick, what's just coming into us, no, this shooter is not in custody because right now negotiators are communicating with this, who they're calling the shooter. They are communicating with the gunman, imploring him to surrender and to end any more violence. They are right now communicating with that person, asking them to surrender. We stated several times, and so did Maggie and Bob Brooks are on the scene of how quiet it is right now. So, but we do know some negotiating is happening from police with this gunman.
Yeah, and again, we're looking at officers at the scene, and we believe this may have been one of the officers who might have suffered the graze wound as they were taken from the scene. But again, so many officers here attempting to bring a level of safety back to this community, attempting to communicate with the shooter. And as darkness descends on that neighborhood, again, we are watching live as hopefully there will be some type of resolution as we head into the evening hours.
Yeah, the tactics of what the Philadelphia Police Department will likely do when the sun sets could very well be a different mode. And so their goal is to end this as soon as possible with a peaceful surrender, to get this person who they have been engaging with since 4:30 this afternoon. They are imploring this person to surrender, to come out of their home, to give up the weapons that they have been using today, and to surrender to police. So again, this is Chopper 6 with the live view right over the neighborhood where this is still an active shooter situation. Let's go to our newsroom. Sara Bloomquist with more from there. Sara.
That's right. The latest information is that Philadelphia police are attempting to communicate with what they call a suspect. We had not been able to determine how many people they were conversing with, but it seems at this point that they are talking to a suspect inside of this house, imploring him to surrender surrender peacefully. They have trained hostage and negotiators that do this, that negotiate with these people who are in these dire situations to try to get them to come out of the home peacefully. They want this person to come out so that there are no other further injuries. We've watched this unfold throughout the evening tonight, coming up on, over 2.5 hours now. This all beginning at about 4:30 this afternoon. Our information is that it all started with a narcotics warrant being served here on a home, and then within moments, all this gunfire rang out. Hundreds of bullets being fired, we believe, here in the area of the 3700 block of North 15th Street. 6 police officers came into the line of fire. They were shot. We have other police officers who were injured there on the scene. They have been transported both to Temple University Hospital and to Einstein. Those officers dived behind police vehicles there on the block to try and get out of the line of fire as they now attempt to negotiate with what we believe is a person inside this house here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. Police exchanging gunfire sporadically with this armed person. Again, as we've said, they must have had, the suspect, an extraordinary amount of ammunition inside this home here in the Tioga Nicetown section of the city. There has been rapid gunfire repeatedly over the course of several hours here. Police responding to the scene, bringing in every resource that they have within the department, and even calling on outside help from, I believe, state police there on the scene as well to assist in trying to resolve this situation. It seems at this point they won't rush this. They will attempt to talk this person out, try to get them to come out with their hands up and surrender peacefully so that there is no more gunfire, no more violence here on this residential street in the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia. As we've said, the eyes of the nation are on Philadelphia at this hour as this situation unfolds. 6 police officers shot this evening. President Trump is monitoring the situation as well. He is taking his break in Bedminster, New Jersey. He is monitoring the situation from there at this hour, as it has not yet come to a conclusion. We will continue to monitor it through the night tonight, and hopefully this all gets resolved and resolved soon. Shari and Rick.
We can only hope, Sarah. Thank you very much, and continue to work the phones in the newsroom for us and bring us the very latest. As again, Chopper 6 live over the scene, and Chopper, by the way, is maintaining a safe distance from the scene. We have not zoomed in on this situation, trying to let officers do whatever they need to do to make this situation safe and not impose our cameras or our helicopter on what has been transpiring here in this community. Let's go back to Action News reporter Maggie Kent, who is also at the scene at a safe distance away, where again, neighbors are wondering what's going on, and just a lot of unanswered questions as we move into the evening, Maggie.
Well, we are getting a number of unanswered questions now. Just within the last 5 minutes, police officers were able to remove 2 middle-aged women and 2 young teenage girls. It looked like they were coming from directly across the street, which is where the scene is and where SWAT teams have been focused. I ran over to them to ask them if they are okay. They said they were okay. They were put into a squad car, but before they did so, the adult woman said, "Don't say anything bad about them." They were talking about the police officers. They were saying they did everything they could to keep us safe. They were saying they were shooting, they were shooting, they were shooting over and over again. They said that one of their younger girls has seizures. They were concerned that she was overstimulated and, of course, extremely scared in this situation. But again, officers were able to remove them from close to the area, if not in that building. They said something like, "We were on the second floor." It's not clear if they were on the second floor of the building where the SWAT team is focused, or if they were on the second floor of an adjoining building or something like that. But clearly, they were in the area that needed to be evacuated, and they were evacuated with police officers surrounding them. Again, they said, "Don't say anything bad about them. they did the best that they could to keep us safe. They also said that they were shooting, just kept saying that over and over again. But again, 2 women and 2 children now removed in a squad car to safety. One of the officers was kind enough to talk to the little girl and said, "I'll see you soon. I'll see you on the soccer field." They're trying to keep their spirits up here. And of course, they were removed from the very tense situation, which is happening about a block away from us now.
Yeah, and that's really the human element of all of this, right, Maggie? Because we cover crime every day. But what people have to realize, this is not the time to desensitize. These are people who live in this neighborhood. They call this neighborhood home. And so some of them at many points today and still now not able to really be safe where they live. And many of them at this point haven't been able to go inside their homes. And in that family's case, they needed to be a bit rescued from where they were as gunfire was surrounding them. They were so close to the situation. Those young children scared for this situation that was unfolding. So thank you to those Philadelphia police officers who went to bring some calmness and to get that family to safety.
There's so many
That's
responsibilities
right.
they have, not just to keep the community safe, certainly to keep the spirits high and to allay any fears that their neighborhood is in turmoil, although as this chaotic scene continues to unfold, so many residents just wondering when they can go back home and when a sense of normalcy will return here. But again, in the meantime, this volatile situation continuing to unfold here in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. Now we're live outside of Einstein Hospital in Logan, where, as we mentioned, one of the injured officers was brought here. Most of them have been taken to Temple University Hospital, but at least one officer, we're told, one of the 6 who've been injured, was brought here to Einstein Hospital in Logan, as we continue to see a police van arriving at the hospital. And again, as soon as we hear of any official word from doctors or police authorities or the police commissioner or even the mayor, we will bring that to you as we look live from Logan at this hour.
Speaking of the mayor, Mayor Jim Kenney was just there at Einstein Hospital to check on the officer that was taken there. Our understanding is Mayor Kenney will then make his way to this location. This is the live view from the front emergency area of Temple University Hospital, where we know at least 3 of the 6 wounded officers were transported to this hospital for treatment. I see several city council members here on location.
Again, this is Temple University Hospital.
Yes. So we know that our expectation is that Mayor Kenney is making his way now to Temple University Hospital, and our understanding is the mayor has arrived. Okay, so the Mayor Kenney is now on the scene here at Temple University Hospital. Of course, he's the leader of this city, and he'll be checking on his officers and wanting to let them know he's there. We also know that the president of the FOP, John McNesby, is also here at Temple University Hospital.
Perhaps the mayor will be the first person to give an official statement as to exactly what happened and what continues to transpire. So we'll continue to monitor the situation outside of Temple University Hospital now that we know that Mayor Kenney has left Einstein to visit the officer there and is on his way here to Temple University to check in on the officers who were injured and being treated there. But back live once again, Chopper 6 over this neighborhood that was under fire 2 hours ago, and it still remains a situation of volatility and desperation, and certainly a convergence of police officers, SWAT team members, state police, ATF, all here trying to, again, bring some closure and conclusion to what has been a chaotic situation since 4:30 this afternoon here in Tioga, Nicetown. It
has been a very busy and active afternoon here in our city, and it is, at this point, it is still not over. The Philadelphia Police Department letting us know that they are doing their best to communicate with who they are calling a suspect in all of this, trying to communicate and send the message that they want to end this, that they would like to end this as soon as possible with no more violence silence, with no one else being injured, with no one else being shot at, as we of course have seen the bullets flying. We watched that live here on our air. These Philadelphia police officers taking cover when they were fired upon in that neighborhood here in Tioga, Nicetown. The activity far from over. We see, of course, the police officers who are in their blue uniforms. We also see the ranking members who are there as well. And of course, we know that other agencies have been brought in to assist and to help the Philadelphia Police Department do their best to get this situation to a place where they can say it's over, it's done. And that, of course, will be the moment where we will hear more and learn more, all the questions that we still need answers to. Some things we just won't know until we hear from Commissioner Richard Ross or we hear from Mayor Kinney. And all of that has transpired in this afternoon. 7:20 here at Action News. We've been on the air with this particular story from just about 4:30. So we are approaching nearly 3 hours of coverage on this particular story, where 6 police officers with the Philadelphia Police Department have been shot while serving a narcotics operations warrant in North Philadelphia. They went to make that warrant, to serve the warrant, when, as one law enforcement official put it, things went bad.
Absolutely.
Things being bad, you know, left so many of our officers wounded today.
And that's where we are right now. In the meantime, a command center, a command post has been set up at Broad and Erie, not too far from the scene. And Action News reporter Walter Perez is standing by there with the latest on what authorities are saying as far as the situation at 15th in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. Walter, what do you have?
Rick, we didn't actually speak with authorities. We just
I believe here.
we blocked off the traffic.
Okay, Walter's mic is back.
In a different direction. Sorry.
Walter, we just lost you for a moment. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying that all the...
Okay. We lost Walter's mic. We'll get back there. Again, he's at the command center, a command post that was set up at Broad and Erie, and we will get back to him in just a moment. But again, Chopper 6 has been on the scene. Once again, not necessarily zooming in onto what has happened, trying to remain a safe distance from the situation. But that is it. In the center of your screen, that neighborhood, as we continue to look at our ground cameras
Is
in
this
the neighborhood.
these live images?
This looks like something that might have been earlier ago, just from daylight.
Okay.
Yeah, this is earlier video from earlier as police converged, trying to determine exactly what was going on, what was transpiring shortly after the 4:30 hour when gunshots started exploding into the air.
Yeah, you know, it's a chaotic scene for the officers who have to respond to this. We know that the original group, we don't know how many were serving the warrant. We don't know how that operation was being spearheaded. It is very likely that they knew it could potentially be a dangerous situation, because serving warrants is dangerous, as we know. Serving narcotics warrants, those officers surely approach with a certain type of mindset of what they could encounter. And from there, of course, we've seen dozens of officers be called to this scene once those other officers were engaged with gunfire.
Okay, let's go back to Walter Perez. Once again, he's at the command post at Broad and Erie. And Walter, if you wouldn't mind reiterating what you were trying to tell us just a few moments ago.
Well, Rick, what I was saying was we literally just arrived on the scene, as you would imagine. Trying to get to this part of the city by vehicle, extremely difficult. All the roads in the surrounding area completely blocked off. Some roads are completely backed up with traffic. Others are empty completely. So it's just a very surreal scene all across this part of Philadelphia. Joining me right now, as I mentioned, we just got here on the scene. There is a command center that has been set up. No one is available to speak with us at this point, but I did come into contact here with Rosalind Pichardo from Operation Save Our City. And Rosalind, first, tell me what your operation is about, and explain to me how a short time ago you were at the hospital speaking with some of the families of these police officers who were shot.
It's been very difficult here for the city. The city is really just at this event that just happened today, where 6 officers were shot, and it's been overwhelming for me as a survivor. and just trying to show support and love to those who've been affected by gun violence.
I know there's nothing that you can really say when you meet someone under the circumstances, but what did you say, and what was the response from these families of the officers who were shot?
You couldn't say anything. It's just being there at the moment. I mean, as a survivor, just someone being there for me is all I can do for someone else. We've been helping families who've been affected by violence, and this is one that's really been touching to me. It's just been very emotional time since I've been here, and I'm hoping that we can provide a lot more support other than just being there. Maybe when they have time to kind of get over this pain that they're going through, maybe we can sit down and figure out what the next process is.
I know this whole thing left you very emotional. I know that your starting Operation Save Our City was very personal. This is something that has affected your family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a survivor of an attempted homicide. Also lost my boyfriend, Talbert Jackson, to murder, and my brother, Alexander Martinez, to murder. The case is currently unsolved. So this is very personal for me, and I really support my men and women in blue, and I'm here.
Rosalind Pichardo from Operation Save Our City, thank you so much for taking the time. And that's the situation as it stands at this point. As I mentioned, there is a command post that has been set up. We'll try and get some more information from folks manning that station and bring that to you live when we get new information. Reporting live from North Philadelphia, Walter Perez, Channel 6 Action News.
All right, Walter, thank you.
Walter.
And it's really just great to hear and see residents like Rosalind who say, I'm here to support my police department today, wanting to be there on a day like this that absolutely is devastating for our police department and for our city. Let's go back live to the scene. Action News reporter Maggie Kent is there. She's been there now going on a couple of hours. Maggie, you're telling us you just heard more gunshots.
We just heard more gunshots, and I'm just using my cell phone now to connect with you, Shari. I've lost my earpiece capabilities, but I'm going to put this down now. We've just heard more gunshots, and again, everyone in the neighborhood is kind of perked up and looking in this direction. Some of the parents that were here, I mentioned a daycare earlier across the street from the house where SWAT teams have been most focused. Some of the parents are now being ushered kind of around this yellow tape and around this area, hopefully to get to their children soon. But unfortunately, we just heard gunshots again, and it's been quite a while since we've heard the last at least 45 minutes to an hour. I'm just going to give you a look now at what's going on behind us, and you can see large crowds gathered. The SWAT team is still in ready position outside of the home where they have been throughout the remainder of the day, but we did see 2 women and 2 young teens coming out of that home as well. They were surrounded by police officers. They said that they were on the 2nd floor, that the officers did everything they could to keep them safe. And that they were doing well, but officers ushered them away from the scene here. But again, we did just hear additional gunshots. This entire situation is unfolding in front of us, so we're not exactly sure if those gunshots came from that of a police officer or that of a suspect or suspects who are inside of the home, and that's why everyone's attention here. You see these large crowds gathering. They're all focused kind of towards the scene where this has been unfolding now for going on 3 hours.
All right, let's
Thank you, Maggie.
go over now to Action News reporter Bob Brooks, who is also there on the scene in this neighborhood. Bob, what's your vantage point of what's happening now?
Well, Shar, just like Maggie said, we heard some gunfire. Hadn't heard that in quite a while. That was a good thing, but apparently there's still something very serious, very dangerous happening just behind us here. Since the last time I've been on, we've come up onto someone's balcony. They let us come up here, and so we've got a little bit better of a vantage point from where we're standing. You can see on the corner right there several officers. They have that first wave of officers, and then all the way up in that field that I've been talking about, I think it's a vacant lot, or maybe they've turned it into a park, but you can see some members of SWAT, police, standing there right now. They seem to be very, very close to that last wave of gunfire. Initially, after that happened, we saw some officers running around, and hard to say what exactly happened. We don't know if that was police gunfire, like Maggie said. We don't know if that was the suspect firing back. We just certainly hope no one else was wounded. I can tell you, since the last time I was on about a half hour ago, it had been eerily quiet. The police had sort of just stayed in their spot, like you can see right now. They've been talking. I've seen some officers briefing some of their people quickly about what looks like, appears to be, you know, their strategy or however they're handling this right now. And it looks like we're dug in. You know, the evening is getting later, the sun's starting to set here, and the longer this goes on, you know, there's something not good going on up in that home. So we have a standoff, obviously, going on right now. And just to update everyone from where we are right near the intersection of 15th and the 3700 block. We've been hearing gunfire for the last several hours, on and off. We had a little bit of a break. Unfortunately, we just heard some more. And it seems like that things are still going on. The standoff's still going on right now, but we have a little bit better of a vantage point from everything that is happening here tonight. But again, 6 officers shot up here, non-life-threatening injuries, luckily. And as you can imagine, this neighborhood absolutely stunned. But our Philadelphia police officers have gone through something like this. And again, just to talk about, they were serving a search warrant. Many officers have talked to me about how dangerous of a situation that can be, because you simply do not know what it is you're walking into. And tonight, this evening, it appeared to be an ambush. But Rick and Shari will surely keep you updated anytime we get something new happening here from the scene.
All right, well, Bob, just stay with us here. The Sergeant Grip, who is with the police department, just tweeted again, and he's just reiterating that officers continue to attempt to communicate with this suspect, but that the suspect is still firing at officers.
All right, and Bob, well, okay, Bob's left the picture. We'll get back to him later because he has talked to neighbors. Well, Bob, if we still have you, I know you've been talking to neighbors, many of them expressing fear, certainly a shock about what's going on. Have you been able to come in contact with people who have not been able to go into their homes because of the situation, who are just kind of waiting around for this situation to reach a resolution, as we all are?
Yes, Rick, absolutely. I'll show you here, this home I'm at right now. They've been so kind to let us up onto their patio, their porch here, but they don't want to come outside. We've had several people that were on their way home from work when this was all happening. They saw dozens and dozens of police SUVs going past. Ones just like that. I can tell you that we saw them too, anxious to get here to the scene and try and help their fellow officers. There's still a crowd out here, not as many as there were when this first started, but we've had several neighbors come up to the tape, ask us if we could go through. Obviously, we're not the right party to ask that kind of question, but some of them do live right around where this is all transpired, and they can't go into their homes, scared to go back there. There was just a group of young people trying to come through. An officer said, there's an active shooter up there. You can't go through, and that's just the way it is right now as we diligently watch and anxiously wait, hopefully, for this thing to come to an end without any other further injuries to anyone.
Once again, you are maintaining a safe distance from that situation. Again, you're hearing this gunshots fired, as you've been hearing all day in this community, but again, you are maintaining a safe distance, as you and Maggie are, from the scene. So we appreciate that, Bob. Thank you, and we'll continue to check back with you throughout the evening as the situation unfolds.
It has now been 3 hours since this all began to really hit the airwaves. It began at 4:30. It is now 7:33 here in Philadelphia. Rick Williams alongside Shari Williams here as we continue our coverage of this active shooter situation that has unfolded in the Tioga Nicetown neighborhood in North Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Police Department just tweeting 2 minutes ago that this is still an active situation and that the suspect is still firing at officers. They also say they are still attempting to communicate with the suspect. This is the live view from one of our cameras that is right there, not too far from where all of this is unfolding. This is what we call the ground view, the eye shot, the vantage point if you're standing on the street here in this neighborhood, which for so many people, this neighborhood right now is just paralyzed. You really can't go or move or get, there are many who are in their homes being told to stay and be in one place. Others who are behind in the roped off area who maybe would like to go to their homes and they can't, because at this point this is still an active situation, of course, where the suspect is still in communication with the officers, or they are attempting to communicate, but that officer, that gunman, they say, is still firing at them even at this hour.
Yeah, the situation continues to go back and forth between an active shooter situation to a standoff situation, which makes this an even more lethal environment for police officers and neighbors in that community. But another story we're following as we continue to monitor the situation in Tioga Nicetown is the weather, because strong storms are moving into the area, and Adam Joseph is here with that.
Yeah, the weather quiet at this point, but that's going to change as we go into the next half hour or so, where storms are coming in from the north and west. You can see the line there: northern Chester County, central northern Montgomery County, northern Bucks County. There is lightning within these storms also as they're sinking to the south and east at around 30 miles an hour. But even ahead of those thunderstorms, you can see how storms and downpours are popping just to the north and west of Philadelphia County, closing in on Norristown as well as Pottstown right now. And if we time this, now this particular timing with the actual track here is where it would be in 35 minutes, just on the brink of Philadelphia County in Warminster at 7:53. That's 20 minutes or so from now. But again, there are these downpours that are popping ahead of that main line. And as we get a little bit closer, there you can see the Manayunk section of Philadelphia, and Center City would be the word Philadelphia. There are those downpours lurking to the north. No lightning in those at this point, but there are those thunderstorms prior to that leading up to the north and west. So at 8 o'clock tonight, it is showing on Future Tracker those storms going into Philadelphia. So it's sometime around 8 o'clock to 8:30, even 9 o'clock, those storms still drifting in and around of Philadelphia County.
Let's talk about it, Adam. This major scene unfolding in North Philadelphia and these storms moving in, how could that impact what officers have to deal with today?
Well, they're going to be dealing with extremely heavy rainfall. I mean, you're going to be seeing rainfall rates maybe a half an inch per hour. It wouldn't sit there for an hour, but they're going to have a lot of water on the roads. They're going to get very wet. There's going to be lightning. There's going to be thunder, more than like with that. So always it's a dangerous situation to be outdoors during a thunderstorm, but obviously they're... And
what is that timeline, Adam?
That timeline is that in between 8 and 8:30 that the storms will start to push into Philadelphia.
So the next 20 minutes or so?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks, Adam.
Okay, Adam, thank you.
Chopper, should we go back live to Chopper 6 over the community of Tioga Nicetown? Once again, darkness descending on this area, the 3700 block of North 15th Street, where we have been monitoring all day long. When shots have fired, police officers injured, officers running for cover, neighbors scattering, trying to understand exactly what's happened to their neighborhood. But the situation's still active as officers trying to perhaps peacefully, safely negotiate with the suspected gunman, who we believe is holed up inside one of the homes here on this street, but is still firing shots. As we heard from our reporters at the scene, apparently is still firing shots at the officers despite negotiations underway to try and bring some type of peaceful resolution to what has been a 3-hour volatile situation here in this community.
So the officers have an active shooter situation that they are facing. They also now have nightfall approaching, and now we have word that strong storms could also be an element these officers will have to face tonight. Let's get the very latest on what we know about the officers involved. We're told that 9 officers have been hurt in all of this. Of those 9, 6 were shot. We also know where they're all being treated. 2 hospitals are being used to help these officers recover from their injuries or from their gunshot wounds. We know 3 of them are at Temple University Hospital and 6 are at Einstein. Let's go live now to Temple University Hospital, where we have Christy Aletto and Gray Hall. You guys have been there as these officers have been brought in for treatment.
Yeah, Shari and Rick, just a devastating day for the city of Philadelphia. We can tell you that the mayor of Philadelphia just got here about 5 minutes or so ago, did not speak to the media, rushed right in. We also saw District Attorney Larry Krasner returning here to the hospital. Right. City Council President Darrell Clark just leaving the hospital. We attempted to get a comment from him. He told us this is still an active situation, and at this point, he can't comment.
That's right. I mean, and still you can see just over our shoulder live pictures here outside of the Trauma Center emergency entrance outside of Temple University University Hospital, and you can see that it is a flurry of activity. Tons of officers here wanting to show their support for those who have been injured. Again, to reiterate what Gray has been saying, we've seen several family members come and go, many of them rattled, shaken, not knowing how bad the situation is. Again, want to reiterate the fact that we do know that they have non-life-threatening injuries, but again, not knowing the severity of that non-life-threatening injury can be very grief-stricken for anyone coming to the hospital when you don't know. We did also see some family members leaving the hospital. They looked slightly relieved in the sense that, it wasn't fatal, but at the same time, nobody wants to see this happen. You don't want to go to work and then get that call, oh, my loved one is here at the hospital. And so for a lot of officers' families, that is what they are dealing with today. So,
yeah.
Of course, pretty dramatic.
Indeed, a devastating, dramatic, and heartbreaking day for this city, for these family members, for these officers. Again, we are waiting on word from officials, the mayor again inside, we assume, visiting with these injured officers, talking to their families, and giving them some support. But again, this is quite the day for the city of Philadelphia and this police department. We hope to get an update from the mayor or some official from inside. When that happens, we'll bring that to you live. Back to you guys.
Okay, we know, of course, you guys will bring us the latest as it unfolds there at the hospital. So we know 9 officers hurt, 6 of them shot, the other 3 wounded in some type of capacity.
Exactly. And again, we're talking about residents who have not been able to go home because of the situation, and there's an inconvenience is, to say the least, as families have been separated because of this volatile situation in their community. Walter Perez is back at Broad in Erie at that command post we talked about, and you've talked with some family members who just want to go home at this hour, Walter, but cannot.
That's right, Rick. Once again, so many buildings in this area on lockdown, many for hours since this morning when this whole thing first took place, I should say this afternoon. One of the people whose children was in a daycare in that neighborhood is Kenny Williams, and he joins me now with his wonderful family. I'm so happy to see you guys are out and okay. But Kenny, just walk me through what it's been like waiting to find out, A, that your children are okay, and B, when you were able to get them out.
I'm happy that everybody, came away okay except for them 6 officers, but it's terrifying knowing that, you're always at work and you cannot do anything in this type of situation. And, you got to just applaud the police for acting as fast as they did and, making sure that nobody get hurt. And, it's a blessing that, that, these children, my daughter Layla texted me immediately when the situation came. And
Your heart must have been pounding out of your chest.
I suppose I had 1,000 tickets because I was hurrying home. But just so thankful there was no cops on the road at the time when I was rushing to get here. I just had a newborn, so my wife is stuck in the house with the newborn. She's worried, so it was a good thing that everything happened.
Kenny, before we go any further, introduce us to who we have here.
This is my sister, Kelly Smallwood.
A show of support.
Yes, she came here. She came actually to get the kids before me. This is my son, Nassim Williams, Samia Williams, and Layla Williams.
So walk me through that whole thing. You get the phone call, you see something on Channel 6. What came first? How'd you find out?
My daughter Layla, she texted me.
And that was the first time you knew?
She said, Dad, you don't have to come get us from daycare. It's been a shooting, so we're going to be here for a while. So I said, what? And I hurried, as fast as I can, to get down here, So I was terrified, like, dang, man, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And then when they said it was actually across the street from the daycare itself, that's a parent's nightmare.
Right across the street.
Right across the street, especially knowing that 6 officers got shot. It could have been one of the kids. A stray bullet could have went in there. No telling what would have happened. It's a terrible situation. And I hope.
And what time did you drop them off this morning?
It was around my wife dropped them off, I think around 9 o'clock, 8 or 9.
So they were there a long time.
Long time, So it's 8 o'clock now, going on 8. It's a nightmare for real,
What's the plan for tonight?
I'm gonna take them out to go get some pizza.
I think that's well deserved.
Yes.
Kenny Williams and your beautiful family, thank you so much for spending time, and I'm really glad you guys are okay, and thank you for taking the time. I do appreciate it. All right, that's the situation here. Back to you.
Yeah, a family reunited, that father having to listen to what his daughter sent him, him first hearing about it in that text message. You can only imagine then what that father was thinking, knowing that his children were right across the street from where this shooting was unfolding. Once again, Rick, talking about the human element. These are people's lives that are being impacted today. If it's not happening to you or where you are today, if those of us who thought it wouldn't happen where you are, that's not the case. You never know where these things can unfold. And our hope, of course, is that no more people will be injured in this as police continue to negotiate and try to communicate with the suspect who they say has been firing at them since 4:30 this afternoon.
Exactly. And as we move closer to the 8 o'clock hour, we just want to update viewers onto exactly what continues to happen here as police slowly but surely, methodically, try to bring a gunman into custody, someone that they've been negotiating with, but who also continues to fire shots. It has been a dramatic scene here in Tioga Nicetown, this section of Tioga Nicetown. And we have just want to show a little bit of the viewer video taken by residents at the scene, neighbors and witnesses of just what they have seen firsthand as this community certainly turned into chaos. Take a look. Again, viewer video, residents, neighbors certainly using their cell phones.
Yeah, this one here by Christina Bowie, as it unfolded right in front of her. You see the officers there with their guns drawn. Chopper 6 was able to capture this video as well, but look at this from her vantage point. She pulled out her phone and began to record what was happening right there on the block where she lives. We see officers with the long gun rifles and them staring danger right in the face. They are on the job today, under fire, and the viewer video helps tell the story.
Okay. And so many stories that will continue to unfold, especially tomorrow when we hear from residents who've been inconvenienced but certainly shocked and dismayed by so much that has happened in their community throughout this afternoon and into this evening. Let's go back to Action News reporter Maggie Kent, who is near the scene at 15th and Pacific with more on what neighbors have been going through, but also what police have been having to deal with too as this situation unfolds. Maggie.
Well, Rick, not only is it a tense situation for police officers who are behind the yellow line, but they're also trying to keep all the onlookers, all the neighbors who can't get back into their homes safe as well. We did see earlier, about a half an hour ago, they were able to pull out 2 women and 2 young teens from that area. They said that they were on the second floor. It's not clear if they were on the second floor of this specific home where the SWAT team is focused on, or if they were in an adjoining home, but they said they were on the second floor, that everyone should be commending the police officers, that they did everything to keep them safe, that they were able to pull them out, and that they just heard a lot of shooting. They kept repeating, "We've heard a lot of shooting, we've heard a lot of shooting." I also heard from a woman who was concerned about her child. We know Walter just spoke with a family who got their children out of the daycare, which is directly across the street from where the shooting scene is. But again, a woman concerned about picking up her child and being able to get in contact with her since she hadn't heard anything for quite a while. Obviously, there is a concern here and a lot of onlookers here. They just want to know what's going on, but of course, people also concerned because they cannot get back into their homes. And that's really the problem here at this hour. Just going to fix my earpiece now so I can hear you guys with any questions that you may have. But thankfully, we haven't heard shooting in a little while. I would say it was about an hour and a half span that we didn't hear anything, but we did just hear some about a half an hour ago.
You were on the second floor? Yes, second floor.
What was going on in there?
They were shooting, a lot of shooting. Hey, tell me, hey. They were chasing that drone.
And again, those were the women who were pulled out of that building and able to escape with police officers flanking them side by side. Those officers saying, "You're all right." They put them into a squad car and they got them out of the area. Just be sure that they were safe. But they were talking to the younger girls saying, "You're okay. I'll see you soon. I'll see you on the soccer field." Trying to give a little bit of levity to this very tense situation. And of course, they were stressed out, as all the people who are watching are, and of course all the officers who are involved in this. Rick and Shari.
Okay. Maggie, thank you very much. And of course, we'll continue to check in from your vantage point as situation warrants. But once again, Chopper 6 live over this community as the darkness continues to descend on the 3700 block of North 15th Street in Tioga, Nicetown. The flashing lights right there in the middle of your screen, indicative of this situation that remains fluid as police officers, an army of police officers still here trying to bring a suspect into custody, a situation that again exploded just after 4:30 this afternoon when officers tried to apparently serve some type of narcotics warrant and something went terribly wrong. So much more information continuing to come in as we continue to find out exactly what transpired here. We're still awaiting official word from either the mayor or the police commissioner as to exactly what the situation is at this hour. But let's go to Sara Bloomquist, who's been in the newsroom working the phones, talking to sources about exactly what the situation is and what continues to develop. And Sara, what can you tell us?
Well, the latest from sources, Rick, are that 9 officers in all were hurt. 6 of them shot. 3 were wounded in other ways as this gunfire erupted. We know 3 went to Temple University Hospital. 6 were transported to Einstein, all not too far from where this is all unfolding tonight. We did just see a tweet from the Philadelphia police. We've been talking about this daycare, or daycares it appears, that are near where this standoff is now going on into the night hours. They're letting parents know if your child was at Shake, Rattle, and Roll Learning Center at 3625 North Broad Street or Precious Babies Daycare at 1433 Erie. You can retrieve your children at 3643 Germantown Avenue on the bus. The kids are on the bus outside at 3643 Germantown Avenue. We've been talking about that. The entire area, many of those homes and businesses and daycares had to be evacuated there in that area. We are going into hours of coverage here now, hours of this standoff now unfolding. The first gunshots breaking out at about 4:30 this afternoon. Our information is that narcotics officers were serving a warrant there in the 3700 block of North 15th Street. And just like that, one after another, there were reports of police officers being shot as multiple bullets were fired from this house. 6 police officers shot, 3 wounded. They're now in the hospitals tonight. Rick and Shari.
Thank you again for that update.
All right, let's now go live to Walter Perez, who is at Broad and Erie, where they are officers and law enforcement are setting up a command center. But Walter, you're also from there, speaking with people and hearing their firsthand accounts of how the day has unfolded for them.
That's right, Shari. Of course, the area south of here is completely blocked off, but there are access roads behind the crime scene where people are now being allowed to leave after buildings all across the area have been on lockdown for several hours. Inside one of those buildings, a cheesesteak shop with Shakia Jackson, who's due to give birth in 3 weeks, we should mention. Shakia, my goodness, walk me through what you saw and what it was like.
Okay, so we wound up, me and my girlfriend stopped at Max's to go get some cheesesteaks. And around like 4 o'clock, so 4:30, we, sat there, ate or whatever. And then all the cops started running, shooting up every angle, helicopters and stuff. But we didn't know what was going on. But unfortunately, a cop had been shot or whatever. But I mean, it's crazy. Like, we've been stuck there literally for 3 hours. So they just let us out so we can leave, but we still are stranded. I mean, if it's for this car behind us,